ทีมสายล่าง
But again, it is a massive credit to BLG for the way that they
ทำไมมันเห็นโทเทมกูหมดเลย
I thought it was interesting
มันมี
how they talked about getting more
มีแมป
acclimated to
แม่ง
the
ที่
meta
แม่งมี
because
คนมี
their
แมป
team
แน่เลย
was
ไล่พังโท
kind
เทม
of
หมด
defied the meta
จริงแล้วแม่งไล่พังโทเทมหมดจริง
but also and played what they wanted but also adapted to do the hyper carry bot lane focus meta that's come out.
Yeah, it was such a big series for Bin and pretty much all of BLG. My question would be, in terms of the Korean
เฮ้ยแล้วมันพังโทเทม
are
กูหม
they
ดจริง
more mad at Gen G for not showing up or surprised by BLG for playing well?
I think it's both, to be honest. You know, we are mostly really, most of the fans are really mad about the approach
โท
of
เทมกูไม่ได้เกิดใหม่เลย
We are still debating a lot about Jinx and affiliates, which is actually the higher priority. And also, we are really shocked by how aggressive the LPL is in
ไอ้
real
ขี้เนี่ยมันพังหมดจริง
that is an interesting adaptation.
แม่งไม่ได้ปัดเลยนะแม่งไล่พังโทเทมกูอย่าง
This
เดียว
whole
เลย
bracket was yesterday actually the first surprise that we've had in terms of the bracket stage.
I think it was the first big surprise.
Yeah.
So the T1 series against Gen G and JDG, that's how we felt like all of these were going to be. We're thinking that they're all going to be extremely close. But then we had a 3-0 between the LPL and the LCK, and that was also the number 2 seed from the LPL versus the number 1 seed from the LCK. So definitely the most surprising
ถ้าทีวัน
result
ชนะ
of the whole
BLG
bracket.
จะไป
Yes, and it ups the
ไป
ante
เจอ
on
กับ
T1
JDG
the
ใหม่รอบ
sole
นึง
LCK
แล้ว
team
ก็
left
ใครชนะ
in
รอบ
MSI.
ที่เจอ
Now let's
กับ
focus on
JDG
BLG a little bit, and their
JDG
story
ก็
is
จะได้
just
เป็นแชม
so
เปี้ยนเอง
incredibly compelling, and not in the least because yeah, the moniker of this tournament is Defy, Emily, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, so here's where we're at. We're at all of us saying that
JDG มันรออยู่สายบนใช่ปะล่ะ
ใช่วันนี้มันรออยู่ที่รอบไฟนอลแล้วแต่ทีวันตอนนี้
But
ต้อง
yeah,
ไปเจอ
this is
T1
pretty much like starting with their playoff run.
T1 อยู่สายล่าง
Weibo
เจอ BLG
will eliminate BLG from playoffs.
ถ้า
We
T1 ช
talked
นะ
about how this team
เจอ
was
JDG รอบหนึ่ง
they were not expected
กูว่า
to
มันมี
be
แผน
here.
ถ้า
Thought EDG would be here, possibly OMG,
น่าจะมีแผนเซอร์ไพรส์แน่
or even Weibo
คือ
Gaming.
ไม่คิดว่ามันจะเล่น
They
ได้เว้ย
ended up
คือ
beating,
มัน
and
สำหรับ
then
โปร
yeah,
เพลเยอร์ก็ต้อง
yesterday
รู้
we
ผม
had
ว่าดาเมจ
the
จะไม่พอ
Gen G will beat BLG easily
ไม่เหม็น
without
ไม่
ไม่มา
and BLG prove me wrong.
Yes, exactly.
ไม่
You
ขอ
are
ของ
here.
คน
You
คิดว่า
think
แบบ
Jack
เขาจะ
after
ไล่
Worlds
จับไล่อะไร
2022 we'd learned the lesson, but we haven't.
There's
ไม่ต้องปลุก
definitely
ให้
some
คน
parallels
ธรรมดาเล่นยังรู้เลย
between BLG
ซีรุสมันไล่จับไล่อะไร
DRX
ต้นเกม
2022 for Worlds
แต่มัน
because
เล่นเมจไม่พอ
many people
จับ
said
ได้
they
แต่
would
มัน
be
เล่นเมจ
the
ไม่พอ
worst
ค่า
team
จับ
from
ไปก็
China
ไล่
and
ไป
Korea.
เพราะฝั่ง
Yet they've already knocked down
ถ้าตามเลน
one
มัน
of
ก็
the big hitters.
มันก็
We're still not necessarily we're giving a little bit
ไม่อยาก
of
จะ
credit
บอก
like
ชนะ
okay,
ไอ้
won
นี่
last
มัน
year
ก็
for
สู้เลน
MSI,
ไอ้นี่ได้อะเพราะว่าไอ้นี่มันทำอะไรไอ้นี่ไม่ได้ทำอะไร
but
เรา
it
ดิลิท
still
ไม่ได้
doesn't seem
Mi
real.
sono
It still
di
doesn't
dai.
seem like they could win it all. But as we saw,
เดี๋ยว
maybe
ที่เนี่ยมัน
you know that's where
เขา
we
เลื
are.
อกเป็น
Yeah, Jisun, the parallels are apparent, it seems
เขาเลือก
like.
And we
เป็น
had
จับ
the
ตาย
similar
เลย
ceremony on stage as well.
จับไม่ตายสักทีได้ไหม
Yeah,
ไม่พอ
Beat that could be
Oh,
their
true.
totem
ตอนแรก
for
เขาคงสง
victory.
สัยว่าอาจจะเป็น
Really?
เพราะจริงที่
That's a
ทำให้
really
เขา
good
แพ้
observation. Yeah, you
แต่ไม่ใช่
celebrate
สา
your
มารถ
victories,
ติดเลยนะ
apparently.
Starts the birthday cake
Yeah.
meta.
Exactly.
They just
ไม่ใช่
celebrate
ไม่ได้พอ
birthdays.
เฟแต่เล่นจริงก็แพ้อยู่ดี
Excellent. But Emily, yeah, you wanted to
Yeah,
go a little bit
Ronaldo
more in depth
Luke.
into how exactly every single player
มึงดูไหมแอนนี่อันตีทีเดียวเอาเฟแม่ง
We'll run through
ต้อง
this
หนี
really,
หนี
really quick.
ด้
So
วย
I
ไอ้
have a
เหี้ย
little adjective here.
กูเห็นตาคือจำตานั้นได้เลยอันนี้อันตีใส่อะโดนอาเฟไหมไม่รู้
ไม่
อะ
โดนนะแต่ก็หนีเติมปั๊มอะ
หนีเดินตามอาเฟอาเฟทำอะไรไม่ได้เลยไฟ
เดิน
We
หนี
maybe doubt that he will either A, be able to play tanks, or he'll be able to bring out this carry focus style at the competition, and he has proven that wrong. Next player,
ตรงนี้ไม้หมดหรือ
Shun,
เปล่า
who I think it's a little bit of a stretch. I think Shun is the player who came off of IG. People still thought he was pretty good. I set expectations just because I think he's performed, especially in the Gen G series
พวกนี้มันก็
yesterday,
ปั่นไว
a lot better than I thought he would in terms of communicating his lanes and knowing where to apply pressure.
โอ้ย
ไม่ขอต่างเฉย
Is assumptions, which
Oh,
Jen is
sure
writing
die.
for me
Good
right
call.
now.
long words.
No longer Emily writing this.
For Yagao, because obviously I think people are
Oi.
coming in.
ขอไม้ทำไมอะ
People are coming in and thinking like, I don't know, Yagao, he's kind
จะ
of
รอดนะ
lost,
เนี่ย
he's
จะรอด
getting
หมดนะ
destroyed by every other mid, and even when he falls behind in CS, I think he has landed obviously the key RA charms, had a few crucial plays in some of these BLG team fights. The next one is adversity for Elk. We've talked about how he was so close to making it with Team WE. And then on Ultra Prime, people kind of thought he was a little bit past his prime. And now he's become a massive carry force for BLG.
ไม่ใช่หรอก
And
แม่งมีคนถือ
lastly,
แมปมาไล่
obstacles for
พัง
On,
นู่นพัง
because
นี่เต็มไปหมด
initially
เลย
he was this super hyped support, but then kind of went back and forth with Sword Art coming on for him instead of him. He might not have been ready, and now he's really come into his own, winning player of the series actually yesterday in the Genji matchup.
Yes, I love that you
คิดว่า
laid that out for us. An
3-4-5 ชั่วโมงโดยไม่พักแล้วไม่ได้เสร็จเลยครับเซ็งบ่อยแต่ว่าไม่อ่อน
In
ตัว
terms of the power of friendship, I know it's something that's something is sometimes contentious to talk about and people don't really like it. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding when we draw the parallels to CRS. Also, the way that we have seen how BLG has on this international stage. Yeah, I mean, Jisun already brought it up earlier, talking about DRX and how well they got along together just as friends in and out of the game. Yeah, here's Tabe just he went to the wrong side of the stage. Jordan's just like, what is going on? Running into the arms of his players. I think this is a team that we've kind of jokingly called a vibes team, a lot like DRX, where they just are really enjoying playing together and being together, and that has been, I know people hate it, again, when we bring this in analysis, but it has been a key part of, I think, their success, because they do get along so well together, because they trust in each other.
And Ben has actually continued his run this tournament. Yeah. If you think about all-time great top laner performances, like if he were to somehow continue this and actually win the final, you would start thinking it as one of those. But yesterday, I think was his best series so far in the tournament. His Gwen was absolutely unbelievable in the team fights, and he's also the defending champion of last year's MSI as the top laner for RNG.
It couldn't be any more beautiful, and you know that the confidence is oozing out of him, both on the Rift and in every image that we see. But let's get into T1 as well, Jisun. Can you first set us up for kind of the expectation around T1, the fact that they are the sole remaining LCK team up versus these LPLs?
The hopes are so high for T1. We're just full of praying mode for T1 to get a win, but right now, I really want to focus on the fact that it's all about team fights early on, because yesterday, after Genji dropped their series, in the press interview, most of the players were really vocal about their wrong setups for
Peanut is still there. They're going to look for a turn.
เอาที่ฉันต้องการเธอ
As
คือ
Jovi has teleport available 10
มาร้องไง
seconds
กูลืมแล้ว
coming back into this fight. T1, they know they want to try and get this turn soon, but the knock up on Zeus, he's taking so much damage here from JJ. And they will secure the... As Peanut is still there, they're going to look for a turn. As Jovi has teleport available, 10 seconds on him. Hello, you just moving? Yes, we moving in for my...
Oh, a little nap. Thank you so much. Yes, Jad, go ahead and set it up for us, because they've been important the whole way, but specifically for T1, how do they approach them?
Yeah, so I'd say this tournament, T1 has been very brute force with their team fighting. If we can pull up the screen right now, you can see the early setup for this fight. This was one of their game-winning fights from last series. If we go to the television right here, the big thing I want to point out is how they kind of played on 1 to 2 lanes the whole tournament. They're very rarely pushing 3 lanes, so there's no pushing bot, there's no pushing top, so therefore they're trying to send everyone mid lane to get something done. And we can start seeing the clip right here. They do teleport in to just brute force a 5v5. This is about as flanky as you're going to see them get. That's not actually straightforward. So after the original engage, there is a little bit of the reset, and you'll see the fight lines really start to show themselves. So this is what we talk about when we say front-to-back team fighting. There's the tanks in front, the damage dealers in back, the initiators in front, and the tank that had fallen back. But it's basically front line, back line that you see over and over again. And then it's really just all about when you're playing the ebb and flow of the team fight, how well you're able to react to things. So Faker does overstep in this fight, but one thing that ends up actually winning the fight is this tiny little orange cube, because in the midst of things, JDG loses track of it, Zeus is able to get the double knock-up, everyone is able to jump on Kumyushi with his ultimate carry, with his recon, and they win the fight. But the main thing that I want to highlight in this was the fact that it is a front-to-back, straightforward, let's group mid, let's try and move through the team, which is the way that T1 has been fighting, which is very different than the way that BLG has been approaching fights.
So we're going to take a look at this BLG team fight. The few things that I'd really love for people to look at here are specifically Bin, who's going to be pushing this wave in here, and then also tracking where On is, right? Because his... I keep not selecting it. He's gonna get CC'd there. But his Braum does so much work in these team fights, and when BLG like to fight, it's a lot different than what Jack pointed out, right? Because here is Bin coming in. He's going to go try to get onto Chovy, and regardless of whether it's Bin or Yagao, who you see up on the top side of the fight, they are trying to get onto priority targets. What BLG like to do more than the straightforward front to back that we saw from T1 in Jack's clip is they like to try to assassinate one person and then let the team fight go from there, right? So they're bringing around Yagao or Bin for a flank. They're really trying to DPS one person down immediately. Whereas, so I think it's a really interesting clash of styles because they like to separate these 5v5 fights into smaller skirmishes, get a pick off, and then go from there.
I'd like to welcome Chronicler to
Hello.
the message as well,
Hey,
and I immediately want to include you in this topic of discussion because the team that BLG is facing today is very proficient at team fighting as well. But what do you think about this evolution probably that they're going to have to go through or going to have to avoid BLG setting up in terms of the split fights?
Yeah, it's really interesting because this is actually, I think, one of the very few areas where T1 is really different from other LCK teams because this is in a very different meta, the AD carry supports, still something that they did, like the early skirmishes specifically and being able to kind of create 2v2s, 3v3s that are extremely favorable for them was one of the reasons why they had such an incredible regular season run. And even though the meta has shifted away, I expect T1, particularly against BLG, to try and outdo them in that specific scenario.
Is it going to be a key to see if they can also step into these team fights when they become fragmented, when they become less predictable, when it's BLG throwing a curveball in the mix?
Well, they have to, right? Because if there's one thing that we've learned is that BLG is going to force you to play their style. We weren't expecting carry top lanes to really be that relevant, and even though we've seen some of Bin's on tanks, it's still the carry that he looks best on. So T1 is either going to have to somehow overpower and force BLG to play their game, which they still your game might be able to, but otherwise they have to be able to keep track where you go and Bin are at all times.
I have a stat for you guys.
Yeah.
So it's not
The
Jack
wolf.
stats anymore. It doesn't rhyme. But to your point, Chronicler, this is combined kills per minute for every team that BLG has faced here at the mid-season invitational, in their domestic season, and then in their series versus BLG. And you see, we'll ignore G2 because they didn't follow the
I mean, they went too far.
But in every single one of these BLG series, BLG are really pressuring these team fights, right? Every single time a team goes up against BLG, with the exception of G2, their combined kills per minute go up. And some of it is a little specious because some of it is, you know, maybe BLG beating up on a few of their opponents, like R7. But I do think it was really interesting to see that the team fights went up for JDG, who they also faced domestically twice in playoffs, and then Gen G yesterday. So it's going to be a bloodbath, basically.
Yeah, as a fan, I'm really excited for the BLG boost.
Yeah.
And I do think that as well, T1 should be fairly comfortable playing that style. I don't necessarily think T1's going to try and slow the game down. I think they're just going to say that their hands are better and try and win all the early fights.
Yep. Yes, and so instrumental in those team fights are, of course, the supports. And BLG support On has been making a name for himself here at MSI. But today, he's facing possibly the best support in the world, Keria, in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz.
It's the Portal Combat in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz.
COS 52 เป็น
Carry and On
ไอ้บอล
will
ดำ
clash for a spot in the grand finals. We have seen greatness from both of these players throughout the tournament, from keeping their carries alive to single-handedly turning the tides of a game with an insane hook.
Watch on. On with a pole! Oh my god, he found Delight and instantly killed him. Gen G have lost their support, and On is absolutely dominant. The knockouts come through Knight! He's going to be punished, and now it's going to be Yuki that rips them to shreds! It's a quadra-kill!
T1 go crazy in the mid lane. The engage from Keria was massive.
It's over! It's done! BLG's won the clean ace!
Only one of them will continue their journey. Back with JDG, the title is on the line. The victor gets a chance at redemption and glory. The loser
อะไรนะ
will
ที่
be
จะไป
sent
ที่
home.
ไปกินที่บ้านได้คิวอ่ะ
Well, what a
ที่คน
great
ใหญ่
support matchup overall, and especially yesterday. Let's highlight on because I think he's been having a good tournament overall. But yesterday he really turned heads all across the
มัน
board.
ปีใหม่
And he was able to do it with both styles too. You could pick
มันชื่อ
the
อะไร
team
วะ
comp with
ขึ้นต้น
Braum,
ด้วยตัว
play a
C
great
อ่ะ
defensive game,
ใช่
stuff
อ่ะ
every engage,
รู้
and then he could
จำ
also
ได้
play
ว่าขึ้นต้น
Blitzcrank
ด้วยตัว
where he was
C
just landing hook
มั่ว
after
ก็
hook in game-changing moments.
Yeah, and it's so cool to see when a blitzcrank
เดอะ
pops off.
อะไร
I
อย่าง
think. But as you say, two different styles, and
The
also
Constantine.
again
The
going back to that
Constantine.
team fight conversation, right?
The
Emily, that
C,
strategic pick of the Braum that has to be
C-word
played to
เหรอ
perfection
C-word ก็ต้องเป็น
in
คำเดี
order
ยว
to
วะ
win these skirmishes.
Yeah, he did
Cook.
so much in
The
these
Cook.
team fights
The
to
Cook.
try to block damage,
Vanilla.
block key ultimates.
Dun,
I think, yeah.
เฮ้ยโดน
His
โดนไอ้ชิบหายละ
blitzcrank was also amazing. It ties into, again, revisiting how BLG really want to approach these fights. A lot of it is like we're going to try to pick one key member off and then take over the rest of the team fight from there. So it is going to be a super interesting matchup against Keria, who not only is the best support in the world, but helped define the support meta for so long this spring season.
And I also think that coming in, it was one of the reasons why T1 struggled in finals. They've been playing the exact same style, relying on Carrier's mechanical prowess to win in the early game, snowball the game, and their opponents basically never got the chance to play. But what we're seeing now is
เพราะว่าตำแหน่งใน
essentially
การเล่น
them
ใน
reverting
ระดับ
back
ตัวเพลเยอร์
to
กูว่า
the
ซัพพอร์ต
way
เป็น
they
ตำแหน่ง
played
ที่เล่นยาก
Lost
เลย
Spring in
ยากชิบหายเลย
2022, way back when it was again an Aphelios and fresh meta. But I do think that Carrier is still transitioning his most impressive game to me this tournament was the game where he actually got to play Nautilus and was able to set up the fights, right? Was able to set up the engages, so we know that he
แล้วมัน
can.
ตัวมันไม่ได้
But
ตัวที่
Carrier
เล่นไม่ง่าย
at times has not been able
ไม่
to
ได้แค่
live
กด
up
สกิล
to
สอง
his
สกิลแล้วจะ
domestic
ฆ่าได้
performances when
คือ
it
มันต้อง
comes to
ต้องเซต
aggressive
อัพ
playmaking.
And that'll be key, I think, not only
Oh, yeah.
today, if they were to make it to the finals, of course, as well. And they each have a fantastic carry by their side. They're enabling their ADs in this team fight
คนเรา
meta.
มันหายไป
Elk
ไหนวะ
versus Gumayushi, and let's start with Gumayushi as well, because he's had a great story and has really lived up to those expectations.
Yeah, I really want to go back all the way when he debuted back in 2020, right? They were getting knocked out in the gauntlet by Gen G, and then Guma was supposed to be the next big guy, right? Split the roster together with Teddy in 2021, and then coming into 2022 MSI, he was so hyped up, right? There was so much pressure on this player, and he didn't really end up cashing out on it, right? He got solo kill, or they got duo killed very early on against the Saigon Buffaloes, and he wasn't really able to have the performance that he had domestically. But after that, Guma to me has been the most consistent player on T1. He has been amazing in team fights, and even when the team is struggling, no matter the meta, it looks like he is ready to take the team on his back.
Yeah, and on the other side, Elk is a player who didn't necessarily have the hype behind him that Gumayushi did, but I was watching the games yesterday and I'm like, he just gets so many kills in every game.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is the most kills per game we've ever seen at an international event, and it turns out that it is. So Elk actually has the highest kills per game at an MSI or a Worlds at 7.2 per game.
Wow.
Also, 80 Karameter, Ruler right below him. This could obviously change with today and tomorrow's games, but if this pace keeps up, it would be one of the greatest 80 carry performances we have ever seen at an international tournament.
And also, he's been doing just insane amounts of damage as well, which is so interesting because, again, revisiting the previous narrative of him in the LPL was like, he's good, but I'm not sure if he can be the primary carry, or as Azale has been saying on desk, that guy. At this tournament, of his 18 games, in 6 of them, so a third of his total games, he's had higher than 1,000 damage per minute.
Wow. That's insane. That's very reliable. You want that on your team.
Yeah, because with that amount of damage, particularly in how a lot of the fights currently play out, having an 80 carry that is reliable, you know, some gale forces notwithstanding, really can be a big difference maker. And it also ties into what we were talking about earlier with how BLG play team fights. When you have a Jinx that needs a single kill, making sure that Yagao or Bin can just one starts off the resets.
I like that you mentioned the gale force, but I also think it's just kind of a symptom of how they like to play and what you need to do in these games, right? Because I feel like especially when you watch Elk and Ruler play, for instance, they're always teetering on the edge of, oh my god, they're actually in range of an enemy hook or stun, but there's just no faith in the team.
ไม่เห็นติดสถานะอะไรเลย
Watching Elk play Jinx has converted me to being a Jinx believer. Because there's the Jinx versus Aphelios debate that we see, because you see this matchup. I mean, I've seen it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's very rare that you can see a carry so
ต่อเครื่อง
well
แล้วไอ้เหี้ย
land all of their auto attacks on
ด่าน
Jin's
โง่
rockets
เกิน
while staying
มี
out of
ด่าน
range of
ด่าน
all
เนี้ย
of the
ด่านใน
failures
เครื่องกับด่านเซต
auto
ตี้
attacks. So I really do think
เอ้า
that with the 80 carries left in this tournament, it's Jinx over fellas for me.
It's so interesting.
ไม่เห็น
also
มึงง่ายดิ
very
มือพับไม้เล่นเลย
as well, right? Chronicler. And let's talk about the draft a little bit more, particularly T1's drafting.
Yes, I'm going to bring
What
some
did I
big
do?
numbers for myself and T1 fans included. We're going to start it off easily. This one is still fresh in the memory. That's Nautilus.
Is it mid or support?
It is mid. It is not a carry on Nautilus. We're going to be very upfront about that. Carry on Nautilus we're okay with.
นัก
This
ข่าว
one
นาติรุตมาบอกว่า
hurt a
นี่
little bit.
น่าจะซับซ้อน
But then we're going to go back to last year World's Finals, right? Game 5, Aatrox.
ไอ้นะดูเต้ดิสามเครื่องแข่งได้คนเดียว
Monster performance on champion that in his entire history as a player he'd been great on.
เป็นแผนแบบ
Getting finals MVP as a result. And then this one personally stings the most to me when you have a bot lane as Guma and Carrier, and it's game 5 of MSI 2022, and the Jin Yumi comes in. And the reason why I bring these memories up, besides just because I'm a masochist, is that what I think is really important to preface, it is not just about draft, right? Like, I'm not trying to say that if T1 drafted better, that's not the point. But what we have seen with this specific T1 roster over the last year and a half is, I think, the reason why they get so far is because they're a headstrong team, because they know what they want, they know what they want to do. But they are also seemingly having such a tough time to adapt specifically in longer series, in best of fives, in their drafts, and as a result, things like this keep happening, and you can't afford that with the momentum that BLG have, or with the level of play that JDG was playing at.
So you say it's not about drafts, but
Not just.
it's kind of about drafts. Like whenever you preface something because it's not about this, it's like, no, it's about this. Because it's the level of summoners. There's one you didn't even have, the Gwen from last year at MSI Finals. Been first pick Gwen 3 times in a row on blue side, won all 3 of the blue side games with first pick Gwen. And T1 never changed their red side dance the entire series. So it's a very consistent trend for T1 that they'll either break through it, because I don't think they're going to change. Like their dance at the start of the series and their priority at the start of the series is probably going to be the same from game 1 to game 5.
And you also brought up, I think it was the day before yesterday, Jat, that because the team fights and the games are played at such a high level, it actually becomes more about draft again in a circumvent way.
And it's very subjective. I will say that. It's so easy to say that because it's lost, it was bad. If they win, we could have just as easily been praising them for being so dedicated to what they think was strong. Because in all these finals that T1 has lost, last year at World Finals, MSI Finals last year, it was small moments in Game 5. So I can't wait to see it.
Well, and it's really super interesting to see them go up against BLG, right? Because we've also seen a little bit of potentially like scrim bubble with Genji and T1. Specifically, I'm thinking of the Kindred pick. But then you have BLG, whose drafts I absolutely despise in the C9 series, actually. But then they found some really unique openings for their picks in like the Lucian. Not only yesterday we saw the Zeri return when into the Zyrakan, which was them very obviously angling for this composition that they were very, very familiar with. So I'm super curious to see what each team prioritizes in this series, because BLG's drafting has been a lot more favored towards this is what we like to play and we know how to execute. And then I am curious to see what T1 do to adjust.
So many questions going into this game. Let's see what the audience thinks and what the fans predicted to win in our MasterCard fan prediction of the day. Usually this goes very heavily in the way of T1, so this is catching me off guard a little bit.
Yeah, I was expecting to be like 80-20.
มีคนคิดว่า T1 จะชนะ 65% วันนั้นน่ะมีคนที่ว่า T1 จะชนะ 71%
And I get it, right? As
เฮ้ย อะไร
เรื่องคนหาย
even though I have
เรื่องคนหาย
faith
นะ
in what this team has made its
มีความ
MSI
ไม่มีความ
finals
มั่นใจ
years.
ว่า
Players
จะ
have
ชนะหรือ
shown,
เปล่า
yes, maybe at the final hurdle they can't get and make it through, but they get there every
เห็น
time.
ไหมไอ้เหี้ยด่านมันจุกดิ
After seeing the run that BLG is making,
That
particularly in
move,
light of what happened last year with Deft and the RX before the tournament started, I said, no, well, that team is not going to go anywhere.
กูนี่ขนาดกูได้มามุมตั้งแต่เริ่มเกม
You'd
แล้ว
be you'd be very nervous.
ถ้าไม่ได้มา
The
มุม
fans
จะข
have
นาด
been right 68% of the time. So
Sniper.
good job. Remember, each day you can head over to
Sniper
Twitter
on
and
Twitter.
to @MasterCard Nexus to cast your vote as well and keep up the good win rate, I would say.
Yeah, and BLG is reminding us of DRX last year, in part because they were the lower seed from their region. In previous formats, that seed wouldn't have even been to that tournament. But nobody believes in them, and they're playing free with a lot of passion. I would say, for most of this tournament, T1 and even Genji yesterday were under a lot of pressure. right? When you're expected to win, it's so much harder to play free. But I do wonder about that expectation because we looked at every international final from 2013 and compared the LPL to the LCK. And it's actually pretty interesting if we can pull it up on the bottom of the screen because at first it was heavily dominated by T1. You can see Worlds 2013, 2015, MSI 2016 and 17. But more recently, from 2018 onwards, it's been heavily dominated by the LPL. So while it definitely feels like, oh yeah, T1, it's going to be massive if they don't win this one, like, it's kind of also normal.
Yeah.
So I do really wonder if they're able to do any of these mental tricks to believe they're the underdog. Because honestly, looking at how many international titles the LPL has won and seeing now T1 is in a 2v1 and needs to win 2 series in a row against the LPL, the odds are actually stacked against them.
Against them. So you're saying maybe we should look at this matchup a little differently. And also it coincides with the fact that it was all T1 when they were getting those victories back to back
for the LCK, which we still herald as the best period of time the LCK had internationally ever. Which is not to say they're not successful, Maurits. They get to finals. They get very far in these tournaments, but that's gotta sting.
Yeah, of course it does. It hurts a lot. You know, we've had a lot of discussions with this about with my NA colleagues specifically. It's like, what feels worse, being 1 game away or getting eliminated early? And we're not going to settle that debate right here, right now. But I do think that what Jed is pointing out, specifically regarding the expectations for T1 specifically as an organization, just because of their history. The expectations, no matter what, are going to be that you get to finals and you better win, right? It doesn't matter if it's LCK regular season, it doesn't matter if it's professional. Even in the years where they're really able to keep up, this is always going to be the pressure that is on this team. And they have been vocal about it. They've been struggling with it, right? And I think that was something that also really hurt them when Gen G beat them this last spring finals.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both sides of T1, right? Because the reason why I fell in love with this T1 team and really loved watching them play was because of how confident and aggressive they were in their own skills, right? And I feel like a lot of times when we've seen them be punished, it's because of that same kind of stubbornness or unwillingness to shift away. But in this matchup with BLG specifically, I actually think, as we talked about, how BLG are kind of dragging people, you know, to their level, like forcing them into these early skirmishes, forcing them to fight. I actually think that T1, like yesterday we were like, okay, well Gen G will win because they'll be able to soak the pressure, right? Today it's like, okay, they couldn't soak the pressure. I think T1 are more than happy to fight because they too believe in their own.
They absolutely do. When it comes to the LPL as well, there has never been an international LPL versus LPL final. We've seen 4 LCK versus LCK finals. I want to say it's a side quest, but when you look at the LPL and the fandom, how cool that would be and how valuable that would be for their fan sentiment, and I'm pretty sure they would really celebrate that event, but it's going to be a mountain to climb.
It would be a massive bounce back after being shut out of the World Finals last year by DRX and T1. For Bin, it would give him a chance to defend his LPL, his MSI title on a different team. For the entire LPL, I think it would be very meaningful. But on the side of T1, it does amp up the pressure on them for a team that is always under so much pressure in the first place. So this is a really, really big match.
It is, and for T1, of course, that question of when are they going to take that next step. What is your feeling, your gut feeling, Maurits, when you look into this match and what could happen here this weekend?
Yes, I'm nervous. Yes, I might end up regretting it, but of course I'm going to have faith in T1. I think this roster have shown that when it comes to getting to finals, when it comes to getting so close, they've made that step. I think that with this lower bracket run, they can go all the way.
Let's see if it happens. I am super excited for this. I think as fans, we've been incredibly spoiled so far, but let's find out if T1 can avenge their fall.
อันนี้ตาแรกน่าจะยังได้อยู่ตาสองตาต้องไปหาข้าวมากินแล้วเดี๋ยวหลับไอ้เหี้ยเดี๋ยวหลับเหมือนรอบก่อน
It is time for the lower bracket final.
ดูหน้าดิเหี้ยแต่ชกแป้นแตก
เฮ้ยไอ้เหี้ย
เป็นเหี้ยหลุดพิษเนี่ยนะ
นาติลูซับหรือเปล่าไอ้ตาที่หลอกนาติลูซับก็ได้เล่นได้
ก็ได้ไงเราทำได้เลย
แอปซันติลุนมิด
ลงสนามด้วยความสง่า
เห็นแล้วมันก็
Are getting into the lower bracket final. BLG versus T1 as we get to the draft. Draco's joined by Kobe and Dagda already.
ทำไมทำผม
Coming
ค
in
ล้ายๆกันหมด
pretty
เลย
fast, so keep up the draft.
ลูเซียนไปไวอีกแล้ว
Yeah, super interesting to see how he expects
Lucian
Lucian
expects
expects
English out,
hunting
honestly.
come through for BLG, but the Maokai and the
Oh,
Bios on the
Taiwan,
outside. Kobe, you were
Taiwan,
talking about
yeah,
T1.
Taiwan,
Every prior towards
แบน
the
เฟย์
later
ไม่ได้
part of
เซ็
the
น
season.
ที่คือเป็นเฟย์หรือเปล่า
ไม่ถ้ามันไม่มีจริงมันก็ไม่ต้องกดจับเฟย์ก็ได้คือจริงเนี่ยเลือกมาแล้วอีกทีมเลือกเอาเฟย์มาเพื่อมาจัดการที
with the
ม
Annie priority up as well for those instant engages. A lot of choices here for T1 on what to give up because the Annie Wukong as a combination has just been such a good snap engage combo. And they got the
ตกใจสัตว์ตกใจ
Everybody take a breath. The bug. It's the bug.
It's the bug.
He was invisible. He was just invisible. Just the all pro.
Okay, this is the same thing that we saw yesterday from BLG though against Gen G. Game 1, they man the Jinx so then they can kind of operate in towards things like forces either coming out from Yushi, you go towards the Zeri Lulu and see if they can have a bit of success with that.
But here, this is the genius of banning the Kha'Zix instead of the Wukong that we're mentioning with our jungle focus for bans because you can only get one on the side. They take the Annie, they split those up, and then they go with the Rakan, so they still have a really good snap engage. And you know T1 with the Zyrakan have been magnificent.
And we were talking front earlier. This is not a combo you want to give over, especially to a player like Carry and have to see how On's going to match because Lulu was fantastic yesterday, but not the same high impact playmaker. That said, every time we're seeing this Jinx ban, it's not Aphelios prioritized. It's instant shift.
ว่านาติลุนมาอีกแน่เจอเฟนนี้ยังไงก็ต้องกดนาติลุนเป็นกูจะกดตัวนี้เลย
Going towards that, one of the big things we saw was that when Knight was playing the Annie, how quickly you could get these engages on towards T1, and the big turnaround that we saw from T1 in these fights was actually carrying on this Rakan. So it definitely feels like BLG are taking a page out of what JDG operated with, bringing a bit of their own spice with the Zeri Lulu as well.
ก็เซริกับสายา5ตัวนี้
แต่จริงที่วันกดเฟย์ได้นะไอ้นี่เสร็จแต่ว่ามันน่าจะอยากเล่นกับราคันวะ
Definitely focus on jungle. I think that personally, the Poppy has been criminally underrated. Yes.
คือโดนเนี่ยโดน
With all the with the other focus, then you're
แค่
thinking,
ลิง
oh,
ยืน
maybe
เฉย
their
มึงกด
next jungle ban
มึง
will
กดโลกได้เลย
be
อะ
like Lee Sin or Viego.
Yep.
Shun though, with all the talk about all these kitchen plays and the Nidalee that people don't like, this is the player that is so good individually on those carry jungle champions. It's just that with an Annie, I don't think.
And to be fair, he can't make it work. I don't think anybody can. But again, when there's a Wukong on the enemy team, based on what we saw yesterday, I would expect a pretty good one shot.
I'm curious to see what the bans are going to be from BLG though. I do expect them to go towards that top side. I thought it would be a Scion, more of that kind of, hey, we want to get rid of the tanks because we know Bane likes to play those more oriented styles. I actually thought it'd be Bane who try and pilot a cannon in towards the top side. So I'm surprised to see that BLG are the ones that are actually getting rid of that. We'll have to see if they do end up banning the Scion here. I think it would work out well, just making sure that these team fights are a little bit easier to execute on if you're straying away.
ถ้าไม่ทีวันมันแบนตัวจับเองวะทั้งที่มันต้องการตัวจับ
มันน่าจะได้แค่นั้น
คือมันจะเอาดังเอชยัดเลยจับไป
มันรู้ไม่มีมันจะเจอตอนนี้
And especially since the revealing is mid lane already, you don't want a lot of extra AP damage on your team because Merc Treads are so valuable versus this champion. Having those stuns and having that magic damage. If they pick the Gwen, Merc Treads value is to the moon.
ที่รู้แวลูเลยยังได้2คนเลยเนี่ย
ปืนหยุดหลุดนะเว้ย
ถ้าฝั่งนี้มันเลือก2เลือกตุ๊กเอาแจ็คไอ้เหี้ยพอๆกับเป็นนั่นแหละยี่กว่าด้วยแจ็ค
Counter Sabaki his jacks. He's been totally fine even in the counter matchup against the Gragas. We saw him beat Doran in that matchup. But let's see if he's going to have a better time now in this one.
Ben is Jax. I love this.
Listen that.
Yes. Keeping the carries here at MSI. Throwing down. He's so confident with it too. every interview, every new opponent.
กูบอกเลย
He
กู
never
ว่าแม่น
backs down.
He doesn't. Going to be matching up the
ล
grind
งแรง
against
ไหม
the
เพื่อน
Dragon Zeus.
เดี๋ยวกูปิดโค้ดให้
How he
นี่
fares
ตัวอะไรดี
Opting for the Lissandra in the mid
พูด
lane.
มา3 ตัวถูกหมดเลย
Engage focus.
Good
And I think
idea,
that's
Dora.
actually going to put more and more attention onto Kuma, onto the owner, to really be the big difference makers because we've
ลงแรง
seen
เลยอ่ะ
Lissandra an
ขนาด
execute
ขนาดนี้กูยังเดาถูกเลย
ball
เราไปลงแรง
behind
แล้ว
him, pressure
ทุก
on
ตัวอย่างนี้กูดู
Drake
ทีมดูคอม
really
แล้ว
step
ถูก
up.
And I think the lack of engagement is kind of the issue for BLG here. You're
มัน
heavily
แบนนา
reliant
ติ
on
ลู
Yago
กู
to
คิด
be this
ว่า
like
นาติลู
flashing
น่าจะ
page
มา
too.
แต่ว่า
JDG
มันก็คงเข็ดแล้วแหละมันเรื่องลิตันดามา
That has
ไม่
a
ได้ตัว
5-minute
จับเยอะ
cooldown. We
ๆจริ
will
ง
only play for
เล่น
Dragons
นาติลูไง
who continues to use this and
ถ้าทัน
engage
รุ่นตัว
as
นี้
our main
ว่าเรื่อง
engage
นั้นรุ่น
tool.
ปะ
But they had things like the Wukong to follow up on that.
รุ่นนั้นแห
This
ละ
composition, you kind of need to blow people up
แต่ว่า
very,
ถ้า
very
นั้นรุ่น
quickly.
เกมเนี้ย
So
มัน
I
ไม่
think it's
มัน
going
ไม่
to
มี
take a
ตัว
lot of
ที่เบิร์ด
coordination from
แรง
BLG,
ขนาดนั้น
which
น่า
hasn't
จะหลุด
always
ร้อน
been their strong
ได้เซริเพ
Split
ราะว่าถ้าเกิดนาที
second decision
บูคอง
making
เข้า
is
ก็
going to be
ยังไง
critical
เซ
for
ริตาย
both
แน่นอน
these teams. Both of them do have those
บู
resets.
คองแผ่นนี้มี
Viego
โค
one
ตรแรง
side,
แผ่นที่แล้ว
Lissandra passive
โคต
on
ร
the
แรงเล
other
ย
side does a lot of work too.
ถึงตัว
Very
คือ
excited
ตี
for
2 รอบ
this
คือตายแน่
matchup.
ทุบ
Should
2
be
ทีแป๊ะ
explosive.
แป๊ะ
I think T1 at the end of the day showing us something we've seen from a lot of teams. These kind of combos. You have the Wukong. You have so much hard engaged. We've seen these compositions can just take over if they get any kind of lead. It's a bit more of a mixed bag on the opposite side for BLG. They have a lot of power picks, yes, certainly, but not nearly the same clear synergy or windows of opportunity. But that said, when I've seen drafts that have been suspect for BLG before, they've always managed to make it work. They just continue to defy those expectations, and we'll see if they're able to do the same as we get into game 1 here. BLG versus T1.
I have been so hyped for this matchup. The fact that we got BLG beating Gen G yesterday, it feels like BLG are trying to make that mega run like we saw in the LPL, see if they can get all the way back to finals.
I love how everybody's ready for any underdog story.
เคยเดินมา
after
อยู่ใน
DRX
ทีมเดียวกันมองหน้ากัน
Everyone's
ด้วย
just, yes, I believe, I believe.
Yes, another one. Well, that's the thing, and I think that it's so impressive that in consecutive international tournaments, we've had a team like BLG or DRX who force you to believe. It's not like they're the favorites, and even today, I don't think they're the favorites. But despite that, they continue to surpass all expectations, outperform, show up in the clutch, and that's kind of what the underdog dream is made of.
And they've even got the swagger to make it more fun. Bin to me is becoming an icon here, almost like Conor McGregor-esque trash talking. Oh no. Before every match, and he comes in, he's still playing carries.
But I think that's the really sick thing for BLG. Like when we talked about DRX last year, it's like, oh, the meta hit right. You know, you had like Zek who was able to get his hands on Silas and he was able to pop off and all these things. BLG are like, yeah, screw your meta. We're just going to do our thing. We're going to play our style and we're going to make sure you have to beat us this way. And I think that's the coolest thing about BLG. Even look at this draft, right? You're not getting this, hey, we want to go for the mega carries in that bot lane, but all the beefy boys in front of them. It's like, no, we want to fight you. We want to get aggro and we're going to make sure that you have to hands this tables here.
And if they want to surpass expectations in this series, it's going to be a tall task, especially with most of the bot side. Gumacaria on one of the strongest, most aggressive bot side duos we can
ไม่ใช่ไม่ถึง
know what
เอ็
they
น
can
นี่
do
เอ็น
on
นี่
side
ตี
combo. Elk has definitely been the center of attention in so many BLG games. If it has not
คือ
been,
มัน
it
โด
is
นทีนึง
always,
ต้องโดน
always
ทีนึง
Elk and Guma.
เลือดหายเลยมา
A big
40
weight
คน
on his
แล้ว
shoulder in this game and in a
เขา
series
ต้
to
อง
outperform
สไปมาคุณคนหาย
fantastic
เรื่อง
Yeah.
Just ask KT
After the time out,
from
I'm
LCK about the T1 from Zyricon company.
Yeah, I was going to say, Chronicler backstage, every single time it was even remotely hovered, was like, you cannot give these guys Zyricon. They're way too good, they're way too clean. And I think that's going to put a lot of pressure onto Elk and on here to see if they can match up in the 2v2. Because if you can actually get this area into a decent spot and you can have her try to be a big team fighter later, that's where BLG will be in a good spot. And that's where we can see just how good
แต่ก็เตะแต่ก็เท
We saw yesterday, Bin
ตัวเคาน์เตอร์
taking care of business
เกมที่กูเล่น
versus Doran
เล่น
versus
กลาง
the
ๆกูก็
Gragas,
ทำอย่าง
but Zeus has made the switch here to go for the grasp on the Gragas for more sustain,
ถ้ากระโดดมาแล้วก็
more
ไม่
healing
ไม่
even
มีโอกาส
instead
จะ
of
ตัน
the
ก่อน
Comet. Taking some notes from the previous matchup there. Also Zeus,
ไปไหน
probably higher rated by pretty much everyone.
And this is a great point because Chad brought it up on the desk in the finals. Obviously,
ไม่มีอะไรนะครับ
Bin had the better win record, but Dagger, when you look at the laning
ได้
stats,
ได้ได้
it didn't quite
Dive
tell
in.
the same story.
Yeah, especially when you look towards Bin, he has been.
ตายเลย
สวย
ตาย
สวย
ตาย
เลยตายเลยตาย
He's gonna get the setup. That's gonna be a kill on Naguma. Now can get the reset. Doesn't have tower aggro either, but it's not gonna keep the dot going huge in the early game from BLG.
Lu
Shut down
Lu
the spot by
Lu
combo.
Lu
They're gonna keep the dot carry. Looking how far Spike just finished the reset. Shot!
หลังทีหลังที
CM1, you certainly cannot afford
เขา
to
อยู่
make
ลูก
it.
ต่อ
เฮ้ยสวย
Also for the outplay.
โอ้ตายอ้าวโอเคเดี๋ยวก็คือ
So damn
มาสองคิว
ได้เลยได้เจอ
That tower heating up. Shun knew. After he saw that shot come out, he was like, "Oh, this is going to be bad." He flashes also for it. So BLG getting a little bit messy down there, but still mission accomplished. They got the dive off. They denied the Zaya.
It's also the fact that they get the kill on towards Elk and they get some plates. Now Owner trying to respond to that top side though. Bin has actually been taken to about just half HP.
มันจะออกโซลี
There's going to be the response here.
กูบี้
He's just going to be happy with the reset, just crashing away from walking away. Zayas does just for a bit more. Has the demolish, can't just go for that proxy. If we take a look at this, excellent start for BLG.
And BLG, they got the information. They know Wukong clearing up to the top side. So Shun comes in. The first kill, great. Very nicely done. But then, as the last minion, this range minion dies, boom. Tower shots are on Shun. The other wave hadn't got here yet. And boom, just dies to it. Because that last one had already died. The Carrier goes in for the knockup. Is able to get it as On is tanking.
Yeah, it's almost like you don't want to be, tanking these turrets as an AD carry or something when you change over as Viego, but...
As much as BLG have done incredible to get here, they have not been without suspect decision making. I feel like once you've denied the resources from the carrier, probably stop, but at the end of the day, still a 2 for 2, not a disaster, still a lot of CS denied from Guma. See what else they can do with that advantage on the bottom side, even if it has been mitigated somewhat by the response kills.
Yeah, as I was saying, though, Zay's probably a bit higher rated by everybody than Doran, so... definitely having a better time here. Also had the jungle come on up. You see the deep ward there by Blue and Gromp. Love that one. Really big information on the second respawn. We'll see that Gromp as Viego comes over. So Shun will be tracked.
One of the big things though for this top lane matchup is when I'm talking about before that dive kicked off, the fact that we kind of think this Bin is this mega beast in the lane. He's got an absolute manhunt. Out of the 3 times.
Hold on, top. Wait your turn. Okay, now you can go. Sorry, it's not me, it's them. They're not interested. They're like, talk about us.
I am well used to LPL games at this stage. I know exactly when I have to shut up, but still need to shut up for this one.
We need a talking stick. Alright, we pass it to Dracos now for the Dragon fight.
ไม่อยากให้เลยว่ะไม่มาติดกัน
Maybe Shun commits to the flash, or at least tries to find the fall.
ไม่ใช่เราไอ้กี่วันก็4
He might have poked down. Owner making his way out of the pit. They don't want to flip it on the fight. Baker 6 though.
เอาไง
Now Annie can look for the re-engage.
เราโดนหนีปั๊บ
Flash out, Shun on the backside. Now looking to turn and burn on the Faker. T1 get the dragon, but it will cost them the life of their mid laner.
It was such a weird approach from BLG. You can see Shun wasn't sure if he wanted to get into the pit, had already burnt that flash so couldn't get over the wall, and then you end up just T1 going, right, we'll immediately turn onto the 3 members of BLG, but they do a great job of kiting back and at least manage to get a kill, but it is the dragon for T1.
Yeah, that blast cone was available to try and get in for a steal towards the back, but BLG, you could tell the calls were so clear. We gotta get the kill, go for the kill, don't go for the steal here. And as you have the initiation from Faker, gets the flash out, self-ults, Yagao also flashes away, and then they get the turn. Lissandra ult is down, he immediately answers with the Timbers, while T1 do get the objective.
กดผิดหรือเปล่า
And I think at the end of the day, a respectable call when they kind of engage, not go perfectly. Once they get the anti-flash, they know it's time to back off. They get the dragon, they make the kind of safer trade in that equation rather than trying to continue the fight with Lissandra all unavailable.
And you know what that means is big things for this Zeri. Zeri Lulu still really good scaling as you get towards the later stages and getting those early kills plus that one there picked up. A lot of concentrated gold is going to go far.
Definitely start. Dagda, would you like the talking stick?
You know what? Alright, you know what? Bin gets beaten by Zayas on average. There we go.
They played 7 games. Bin's laning stats, not good against Zayas. Important context to have. Took us 7 minutes.
On average, Zayas ends up with an 860 gold lead. Now, see, the second I talk, there's more action. So I'm okay with just kind of randomly throwing it stack bit by bit so we can have more action.
I appreciate it.
We need to make use of this superpower that you have.
ว่าที่เดียวกันเลย
I like permax. So
whenever the game slows down, I want to start talking about Bin's stats.
It's forward presented. But genuinely, I think at this stage you are as T1, you gotta start trying to figure out ways to make this come back in your favor, right? And at the moment they're trying to see if they can jump onto Shun. Yaga covering though.
มาช่วยแล้ว
ล็อกรูนไม่ติดอะไรวะ
อ๋อกันอันตีนี่ไงเมื่อกี้อันนี้อันตีอ๋อไม่ถ้าเกิดว่า
นี่เดี๋ยวไม่เท่
ถ้าเกิดว่า ถ้าเฟกเกอร์ตีเอ็นนี่เฟกเกอร์พอนี่มันหายจากแข่งเฟกเกอร์ตายไม่มีสกิลหนีแล้ว
level 6 acquired by Shun off of his jungle though. Baker off of that kill.
มันไม่ได้ตีแรงมันเผาแรง
And since Yagao doesn't have teleport, should be T1 closing, but the bottom lane rotation is first from BLG. Zion left on the bottom side.
And now looking to ult immediately. Objective still alive, but it's going to get picked up in the end. Owner now needs to make his way out. He's got no ult. Goes invisible, tries to find it, but Shun now looking for the ball. Take the jungler out of the equation. The recall still trying to complete Baker. But here comes Elk. Shun going to find one. Shun going to find the reset. Elk trying to get the chain lightning through to finish off Baker. Can they keep the dive going? Saves body slam. Where is it going to go for now? They're being corralled under their tower. T1 got the objective. But they're not going to get it. Turn the fire back. It's damn clean, but BLG still coming ahead and kills.
Elk only has one button and it's go forward. Maybe a little bit too far forward to be terrible, but BLG are still able to make it work. Yagao down to the bottom side.
แค่รอให้ทีมเขา
ได้แล้ว
ก็ตายแล้ว
เอาเดี๋ยวโอ้โห
He is flashless and he is knocked down.
T1, they get the Rift Herald and they get the bottom lane dive. They left Guma on the bottom side to mine turret plates. They get Garia back down there to make the assassination as well. That is huge. A lot of kills there for the chase on BLG though on the top side, and Elk, as you said, going deep, gets responded to by the flash for Zeus. So they do get the answer on the kill, but here's another look at it. T1 trying to be a little bit greedy, finish this one while also going for the bottom side play, but I was surprised. I think Shun did not have smite there as it got down to 18 health, and Owner's able to pick it up.
And just a great rotation as well from BLG's bot lane. They had to push and bot, they immediately start to rotate up, but this is a little bit too far from Elk, whereas he starts to go underneath here. He tries to stop the reset, flashes forward, miscalculates, and a great flash from Zeus there to immediately get the turnaround. The seconds he's elbowed a bit too far forward.
Good heads up play. Ultimately, gold lead in favor of BLG for now. It is a dragon. The Herald in favor of T1. Baker, the claw, just barely able to complete their clutch time and make it out to safety.
Yeah, On trying to combo there with the ultimate, trying to keep that Lissandra CC so he's not able to get claw or ultimate off, but Baker escapes with his life. Owner might pay though. There's a ward inside the brush.
Miss coming in. Should not able to take the object, but now going to fall up. Owner is going to be forced to burn the ultimate here to escape. Not going to be fine, not nearly enough damage for the Viego yet, but getting closer and closer to the Sunderer for both of the top side members of BLG.
You can see Owner really doesn't want to try and sacrifice his bot side, though. He knows that it'll end up leaving Carry and going to be Yushi on their own. The wave is in the best spot, so trying to see if he can stick around here. Should have backed away. It doesn't look like there will be any sort of play on this bot end at the moment.
Pushing for the angle. Interested to see the individual gold between both these players. Guma obviously grabbing a couple of plates, but 3-1 the kill score overall. I'm assuming it's in favor of Elk. We'll see who completes their mythic first. And thank you, observers. 1.2k advantage, massive. Not turning into a kind of advantage yet. He's not spent a lot of that money. So maybe T1 feel like they have a window to contest here, but no setup. Yagao already covering the angle to the river. It's going to be a tough contest. Owner now walking in, but the objective already gone. Baker claw in, might try to keep this one going. Handing it out of the leg. Yagao with the counter. It's huge. And another reset coming in for the jungler. The Viego is going to take over the fight. Yagao is still standing. He goes golden. Bit trying to find his way to the back line. But it is all falling apart for T1. Shun just tears through. On stepping forward. Lulu empowered by the anti-shield. They're going to keep it going. Reset for Shun. Taking Guma Yushi's body. Taking his soul. Taking the fight and the triple as well.
It's a triple for Shun. And when the chips are down, Yagao manages to come out once more. He had some really clutch charms yesterday. And now in the Annie, he's showing up again. Back to those resets. We said in Champ Select, whoever gets the first one is going to pop off. And it is Shun. Oh my goodness. They got the dragon. They get all of the kills here. Honestly, the Annie just doing what the Lissandra wants to do, but better there. Yagao with the flash in, lays down the Tibbers. Shun, even though he executes on the clone, still able to finish off Owner over there. And they get the resets coming through, demolishing T1.
But now, Elk caught out everything. They stop Herald crashing. This is big. Elk alone just pushing 3 members back. The looming threat of the counter engage stops it and extracts. BLG just continuing to come ahead, play after play after play.
And this is very similar to what we saw in Game 1 yesterday versus Gen G. Elk on the Zeri, getting ahead, getting fed, and now once more in a commanding position. The cull has popped. He's so super far ahead, and BLG, I mean, this again, they just seem to be coming out swinging every time.
It's T1 who went for the aggressive engage. BLG firing back that counter engage. T1 certainly going to respect it more in the fights to come, but it's hard now. goal difference going to continue to mount against them. Divine Thunder completed for both topsiders. Good news, Owner not too far behind in itemization overall, but it's tricky to play out these fights if Andy starts to get any further ahead.
And that's the thing, I think for T1, their pick potential is incredible. So, and you've seen before, BLG aren't the best at actually trying to be on the same page. So, I think in moments like this, where BLG are maybe pushing that a little bit far forward, you can look to try and have that pick happen as T1. Owner, with the Divine Thunder already there, with Faker, can easily kill one of these members that are low.
And T1 do have a lot more options for engage as we've gone over here. It doesn't have to just be Faker. Faker now.
กูได้เห็นด้วย
Crown gonna get popped here. You got not gonna connect and stun will walk away. But again, we're seeing a lot more Crown and Shatter Queen over the last 2 days, mitigating some of these upfront burst damage. But here's the counter engage, massive from Yao.
Yeah, so Faker goes in, he self-ults, but that's not keeping any of them down. So you get the Annie combination. They're so low. Shun's able to chop down everyone.
แอเรียของเอลีของ
โอ้ยเจ็บเป็นคนไม่โดนใครเลยโดนวะโดนไม่โดนใครเลย
Massive stuff here for
เอลี
Huge.
ของ
The fact that
ของ
Shun
นั
ends
ก
up
กี
getting so many of these resets and kills as well is just
แต่
massive.
แม่ง
Getting
โค
this
ตรกว้าง
Viego
เล
ahead,
ย
especially when he already had that little bit of an upside
How
early
about-
stage. But yeah,
how
Yagao
about
going
the
down for it.
Viego?
I think this is going to help out huge in that jungle matchup. Also, just the fact that Yagao ends up burning his flash at that Dragon Pit means that by default he's going to have a backup as well for the next dragon. So I think a lot of this is going to be a case of, again, if BLG can try and play for these dragons, play off Yagao's flash, and get those turnaround engages against T1.
And the changes that T1 need to make is to have Keria and Zeus on the same page with Faker. That combination of champions can have a much bigger impact. If you get the
ไอ้ไฟ
recon
ข้างล่าง
actually
อะ
CC
เสีย
them
ดาย
and have that AoE
ถ้ามีคน
follow
ตาย
him
สัก
there,
คนนะ
to really set up
ดิซันด้า
Owner.
ไหลให้ได้
Poking. Not looking to give T1 the opportunity to group, to refocus, to use all of that CC together, continuously trying to split them up.
ไม่มีอ่ะเดี๋ยวรู้ว่าจะตาย
Steps forward.
ใช่ มันมีแต่คนจะตาย
วาย
โกตัวเองไม่ตาย
Drop a word of the wall, at least know that has not been started by the side of BLG, with BLG fighting for mid priority.
T1 have set up the map well. You can see Baker pushing top side though, and now that gives them that angle to come in from that top end of the map. Yumiyushi and Zeus are here to just continue to clear out mid. So while this is a bit of a standoff, it is actually BLG falling behind because they haven't put Bin or Yagao down on spot side because they're lacking that teleport.
He's trying to force in here, but Owner walking in the darkness, fishing.
Long flank.
Elk isolated for now, has to be careful. Bin stepping forward, Ultra Shock Laser not going to connect. They're staying in the darkness. Faker ready to come in as well right now, as you highlighted. T1 continuing to get advantages. Entire waves are being deleted on the top side, while BLG debate what the option is. They're trying to find the play.
สเปซ
Secret Agent Owner has been exposed!
Get out, he's waiting for the phone to body block the stun. He's going to try to make it out, he's going to take it down. Jungler off!
ได้ป้อมเกือบได้ป้อม
And that means the Herald is that much easier now. Yagao might just try to keep the ball rolling here in mid lane.
And BLG also making this call to pull off
Faker
the railroad,
smoke,
but they waited the extra few seconds for Yagao's flash. Now Yagao's flash is right back up for Annie. One of the most critical summoner spells for this team. They find Owner in the back, trying to get his super long flank off, and now they're going to get the rewards of being able to start up the Rift Herald themselves.
And there's Dragon in a couple of seconds, so there's an opportunity here for BLG to show out waves, have a quick reset before Owner comes back out onto the
เดี๋ยว
map.
นี้ไม่ค่อยใช้
And they can
Electro
test
Q
where
กัน
the
แล้ว
Dragon
ตัว
goes
ที่ใช้
for.
Electro
A
Q
lot of
ก็
vision from both sides has been
เปลี่ยนมา
invested
ใช้
in that
นี่
top
หมดเลย
lane. So with T1 kind of giving up this Rift Herald, they should actually be able to move down to the spot lane and establish themselves, but we'll have to see if they're even going to bother here as BLG.
Bin continue to poke down on the top side. Proc is enough, I think waiting as long as possible to deny.
Deny cannon! Deny cannon!
Just auto it! Hit it whenever you want, Bin!
Denying as many minions as he possibly can.
But in the meantime, T1 are on the bottom side, they're starting to drag it, so instead of focusing being put on the top side, BLG is just going to look to reset, not trying to capitalize on that window of opportunity, not trying to over-push on a tempo advantage.
And I think that was the big one, the fact that T1 had that reset because they weren't investing time with the Herald. They're just like, cool, we can move down, we can set up vision control. And when you're going into this T1 side, vision control is crucial, and it could be here as well as T1 is setting up.
Yao. Oh, the double daggers, the feathers hitting Yao, taking away that crown of the Shatter Queen is big, making the follow die that much easier. But for now, they're just going to call it off. They got Dragon on the side, Owner returning his own jungle to farm up. Right now, 3K, 4K gold lead for BLG, 2 dragons to T1, but have to see where the next avenue of attack is going to be. Expect this game, like every other game this tournament, to be mostly about the 5v5s, believe it or not.
And who gets the star in those? It is the 80 carries, my friend. Currently with the item advantage here, with all the focus from BLG towards the bottom side. That early dive that they were able to pull off to deny a bunch of minions from Guma. Rift dropped in mid though to get that coveted mid lane priority. It is so powerful. He's setting up way before these objectives arrive.
Now the
อ๋อ
Faker
ตีเวโก้เอากันกัน
on the shot, he's unstoppable. He's trying to make it happen. He need to burn through the gate as quickly as they can, denying the reset. Faker finding a reset is on the front. Brawl not going to find him. Purchase it out from the backside. Outlet touch for now. Faker going golden. The follow-up should be there from the side of PLG, looking to lock him down. Faker making out safety. The claw getting him out of the fight. T1 finding a clean pick. But out.
เรียบร้อย
Can he
ไม่ตายเหรอ
can he take a walk forward? The answer is no. T1 already out. Still standing. The fighters fly, but they will not find their target. Who manages to make it out alive?
เซรีมันหนีไม่ไป
People always talk about Elk being the successor to Jackie Love, really keeping you on the edge of your seat there. He barely gets out alive, but we got to see from T1 that minor adjustments where they had the Rakan engage with the Lissandra engage to get the actual kill.
And I think that's what the fact that they're trying to make this work, but just couldn't quite do it. And then Elk hit him. I mean, I think at least the difference maker is that Elk's alive, whereas Jackal tradition wasn't. For T1, they're a little bit annoyed at that. Good opportunity here because they knew that Yaga was down one side, trying to make the tower. They just go for what's being here. Big stone, which prevents so much of the follow from coming through, which means Elk is able to actually push forward. But it's very difficult for T1 after they have their initial engage to try and burst through this gap with Yaga TPing in to actually get access to Elk.
Yeah, BLG have been very adamant at looking for even 4v5 plays if they know you have used all of your initiation. As like Elk is able to flash over, slide over. We've all been there trying to kill this Harry, shield bow, plus that much mobility. But the real important thing there is that time, T1 did exactly what we wanted. They combined Scaria and Zeus with the Faker engage to actually get the kill on the Shun in the first place. And then as you said, they knew they had to back off after that, after expending so many cooldowns for themselves.
Faker on the top side. Just gonna try to clear this wave, but I think it's so important. I think Shun and Elk have to be your priority targets because we've seen Elk in the earlier fights, even when he wasn't dealing a ton of damage, it was Shun with the resets. And while the sound resets are solid, the Viego resets with so much CC and T1 hits are just incredibly impressive.
I think one of the big things as well was like, even though it wasn't intentional, Elk did get the TP out from Faker, so now you don't actually have that TP available for Faker to try and have T1 play side lanes that little bit easier. And the fact that Yago has to burn his TP to get in as well, it's going to make things just that little bit easier for BLG trying to play at the map state when T1 have been playing that better than them this game.
And now moving to the bottom side, but breaking open that tier 1 mid lane is big, especially if they can set up deeper vision in the T1 jungle. We've seen a lot of the Annie games be defined by these picks or flash engages from Fog before. Certainly easier to get that vision control without the mid lane tower, clearing out creep waves so quickly. Ben and Zeus still trading blows on the bottom side. Hasn't necessarily been as explosive as I was anticipating, much more about their presence in the team fights.
One of my favorite things with the meta really turning towards, carries, AD carries and teamfight meta is that it puts more of a magnifying glass on those initiations and on the front line for these teams so that we get more rewards and more recognition for a lot of those snap initiations you're talking about. As Bin in the side lane here on the Jax with Divine banging away on the Gragas. We are about to get that extra level for Zeus though. At his 10 stacks for his Rod of Ages soon, so he's about to get his spike.
Of course, the lane gets a little bit harder once Divine Sunderer comes around, and there's that much more sustain for Bin. Part of the reason why you see a bit of healing reduction in the back pocket of Zeus just to make that individual matchup that much easier. Zeus, a lot more tools to impact the team fight though. The cast, the body slam, flash setup, they do a lot of work for the 5v5.
Also, as far as item completion points here that are very big, T1, you want to make use of big ability damage for Gumayushi. His quick plays are done as Keria is able to slip away, but Zaya quick plays are quite big for the big blade caller that they want to wombo combo with all that CC.
And T1 were trying to play off their vision there, but they hadn't actually started the bush properly. Owner on the pixel brush was caught out, so BLG were like, cool, we don't actually need to try and engage onto this or push forward, we can just threat mid. The second they do, T1 have to back off, and now it's BLG that have control of the river. You can see, nice from the observers, how dark it is for T1 to try and move in there.
Dark and an ocean rift as well, so extra rushes to worry about. Right now Yagao looking for the setup, is just going to try to immediately find two. There's no follow-up, but it will force the ulti out from Guma, give them control of the pit. Zeus, a little bit no man's land here. Can't just body slam a wall, does he have the cooldown, waiting as long as he can before he goes over, but they're trying to body block. They're forcing the flash out early. Now T1 taking the space given to them. Overcrossing Zeus is giving T1 access into the river, but again, Owner fishing for the flank, this time unspotted, this time BLG not sending him out. Will it be enough? The ultra shock laser, they know that he's coming, they get the objective, and they might just look to turn on the Owner. I'm still taking for now, immediately get all, immediately get a look to burn through Owner. Bin on the backside, fishing for a stun, but he won't find much. Faker now trying to re-engage on the Elk, but the cleanse is there. Faker now going to be in trouble to stun, but there is no follow-up. Elk for now uncontested, Guma uncontested, both 80 carries doing everything they can to try to shift the fate of their teams, but it's been into the back line to break down Guma, but Guma
today with Carrier with something he defies death. And
I can't
it's trouble, but he fires back as well on the edge of madness, on the edge of insanity. They finally kill the 80 carry of BLG.
ใครเหี้ยอะไรเนี่ย
Oh, this 80
ไปเหี้ยอะไรวะ
cutting down
สกิลคิวเว้นเลย
members mid-air as they're flying right
ไอ้เหี้ย
to
ทุบ
their
เหลือ
faces. And in the end, T1 survived. That feather auto attack as Ben is leaping towards his face. The initiation did get
เต
the
นี้ยังไม่ได้แรงเลย
They
แต่
saw
ว่า
him really
ดูดิ
early on
มัน
the
เอา
control.
เตนี้มันเอาตัวรอดได้ตลอดเลย
Around that angle, and LP was able to survive the very beginning was huge. But look at the
โหอันตี
chase
หายไป
now.
นิดเดียวเอง
Faker just bought so much time. Elk
เดี๋ยว
wasn't
เดียวเอง
able
เว้
to
ย
get
โด
into
น
this fight,
โดน
whereas
นี้
Yumiushi is in a position where he can actually start to hit onto people. You've got a ton of peel that's coming through for Guma as well. I cannot believe he can't get this last auto attack. I'm pretty sure if he actually manages to get that, this could be a very different fight. You've got the shields coming through from Yaga onto Elk, but with all four members of T1 still standing, there's not much that Elk can do as they start to engage. Even just barely missing that body slam from Zayas, but it doesn't matter. T1 still come out on top.
So big. Carrier keeping Guma alive up there. Only to get that chase down. Then Yagao peeling there with Elk. Now we're right back to live though.
As it drags 1K difference. This is the best close this is ever going to get. Both sides looking fish for an angle. Zayas in the dark has been behind him. Where's the setup going to be for now? Just a bit of hope as Zayas body snap back, just trade. And we're now at the point in the game where every team fight starts to feel so tense because you know a convincing team fight we could end the game. We've seen T1 do it, which is immediately run down mid lane with any kind of significant advantage. And in the same vein, Baron also on the table for both sides.
And the thing is, you have so many more options as we are going to talk about a T1, but because you have more options, you've got more flashes that can actually set up the game. Carries his Faker taking it across. Whereas when you look across the BLG, it's only Elk who still has that flash available. As we get to the 25-minute mark, you know T1
นั่ง
are
ไม่ได้
looking
แล้ว
to
เล่นเกมไม่ได้
you
แล้ว
know they
ขอ
want to
เขาไม่ได้เพราะนั่งไม่ได้เล่นไวเล็บอยู่
And if you're walking in blind as BLG, T1 are going to happily jump on top of them.
But it can easily swing the other way as well. Now that they've got
Oh, yeah,
Elk
wow.
3-item power spike, he's been slightly ahead of Guma this whole game. Now he's
Oh,
got
Lakan.
his quick plays with his shield bow as far as the random goes. So Elk definitely, he could have that high again. These team fights are so explosive, so exciting here. No vision to support the split push, but Dave's is going to come down and just try and push you guys.
เกียร์การเวทด้วย
A lot of attention again. They clearing up vision. Carrier behind.
เห็นว่าซุดเชี่ยทีวันมันจะไอ้นี่ขนาดไหนซุดแม่งเกิดเลนเกิดตลอดเลย
ชุดนี้มันชุดดีปกติทีวันแพ้แบบว่า
And now Guma waiting for his
อีเวน
luck
ต์หนึ่ง
to
จะ
serve
เปลี่ยนตัว
T1.
แล้ว
I think they just want to farm him a
เปลี่ย
bit
นตัว
more
บ่อย
gold,
ทีวันเป็น
complete
ชุด
that.
แต่ว่าชุดนี้อยู่มา2 ปีแล้วนี่
Then you got your Zaya ultimate, plus you got that big shield.
ตอนนี้กลายเป็นเฟกเกอร์โดนแบกแล้ว
Beat
เนี่ย
him the mid wave. Mid lane priority. Once you shove this in, then you get to move in for the vision by Baron. It's the 1-2 step that every top team uses here to control these transitions.
I will say though, I'm surprised the way the BLG are setting up on the map. Jax is now moving into that top side split push. If Jax has TP, I think he'll do a better job against the Rex. The bot side, you can put pressure onto tier 1, tier 2. But BLG really haven't been utilizing Bin as effectively as they could be, not only just at MSI, but across domestically as well. So I think this is where BLG are kind of missing out on some of their advantages now. You can see they're actually going to start changing that up with Dragon just about spawn 50 seconds.
Exactly. What we just saw is they use that T1. They get the preemptive vision here in the jungle. These two wards, then they can come back, push that mid, and transition over to Dragon. 42 seconds left on it. The timer on the setup here for T1 is towards Dragon, and they have this straggling ward on Baron just to see if there was a BLG try and quick pull.
And it looks like BLG are basically trying to pull T1 out of that position. Saying, hey, look, we can threaten this Baron very, very quickly, especially with the amount of damage dealers that they have. T1 are now starting to get pushed in, which gives BLG the option now to start moving across.
And those wards I just pointed out in the jungle for T1 that they
แต่
place
ซัพพอร์ต
for
มัน
this
ซื้อคอน
Dragon
โทรล2 อัน
preemptively
อยู่นะ
could be spots for
แล้ว
Faker
ก็
to
ไอ้นี่เขา
teleport
เรีย
and
กว่า
go
อะไร
for a flank
มัน
off
รู้
with
จุด
his
มันรู้
Sonder
จุด
with
วอร์ด
Flash.
กันหมด
They just saw the two resets coming through from Elk and on, which is why T1 now very aggressively moving in, even going down potentially towards the bottom side to see the Jax, but they're happy to stand up. They know the Elk and on aren't in position here.
Starting to put in shut in the darkness in the mist, trying to find an angle into the pit. Trinket's now coming out. They've got a decent idea of the health bar. All Shockwave coming as well, trying to steal it from Puma. Able to grab it clean. Dragon for the side of T1. They're not going to try to force the fight. They'll just walk away, happy to have the prize for free.
And then they get to move across into the top side and re-establish all that vision that we were talking about. big mistakes from Alpin on. They end up getting caught on the reset. They spot them out, and T1 are like, fantastic, we know this is 3v5. We don't have to fight, we can just take the objective.
Exactly. T1 doing really well with their limited resources and those small seconds making the difference on their setup. The travel time on getting there, you can't be a few seconds slow on these objectives versus these teams because you blink and it'll be gone. Combined it there.
Now it's BLG's turn. T1 got the chance to move
ถ้า
to
ลิง
the
วา
top
ร์ปเป็น
side
อย่างนั้นเหรอ
a little bit of vision. They clear out a bit of vision. BLG mid prio now able to
ลิ
do
ง
the
เล
same.
เมชั่น
Bit of a back and forth exchange.
ลิงอะนะ
See what T1 does when they go for their resets when they get mid prio again. If
ไม่กินอะไรวะ
break the cycle by setting up for a pick, by hiding in the fog of war.
ไม่รู้
Now it seems like both
อาจจะ
sides
เป็นส
tend
กินกระจอก
to just
มันหมุน
farm.
ด้วย
I want to see the Zeus ultimate when he gets a death cap here. The big bomb on this Gragas. 10 stacks on his Dark Seal. Working on his death cap here to try and combine those two rods.
คือเก็บวิชงวิ
Could
ชั่น
have
ฝั่งตรงข้าม
a
หมด
huge,
เลย
huge impact as this Gragas.
Yeah. And again, credit to Zeus and credit to T1 because BLG had a pretty significant gold lead for a decent portion of this game, especially after that bot side dragon fight where they re-engaged, but clawing it back through good fighting and in no small part due to Zeus and his excellent execution of his pick.
I mean, his split pushing is just so good. The Rod of Ages plus T1 having him catching all these sideways. He's level 17 now in this game. 3 levels over his own mid laner. The utility mid lane champions now. This is your mid lane life. Meanwhile, Bin trying to catch up there. It's hard to deal with the extra level from the Rod of Ages, but he's doing his best. He's got his level 16 and he's got his stopwatch for the fight, so has that extra few seconds to be able to buy in the team fight. That Jack AoE stun follow-up could be big.
And I think now they're trying to utilize that split push as T1 to just get control of side lanes, push them the entire way in. And when you're in that position, it becomes very easy then for Faker to just kind of make these map movements where you can just push in top and immediately drift across into the jungle there. And if you're able to establish that vision again, it's so easy for T1 to either make a pick or turn onto Baron, force TPs from BLG, and it's just a rinse and repeat for T1 that becomes super difficult for BLG to deal with. And it's just BLG not playing the map.
Trying to take the Gragas out of the equation. He got no defensive items. He's running out to safety now. The Radiant is going to be really fully committed. Stop the engage and track. Owner on the retreat. T1 on the retreat. Just stepping forward. Rook getting that Faker now for Radiant. Trying to make it out to safety. BLG desperate to get these kills picked off, but they're just going to force T1 back.
I love how much damage Elk will squeeze out. He's so aggressive on this area, charging forward with those hurricane belts. Bolts just being belted out here. He chases T1 down. Zeus gets chunked out. Owner gets chanked out. Now they don't have a lot of cooldowns for this Baron bait.
Both AD carries have no stunners or no flashes. That's the big one here. Gumayushi not having access to the ultimate as he might be not going to go.
Making it out over the wall. Luxury of this pick. One of the reasons they prioritize it over something like Aphelios, the safety, the reliability it has just to escape those scenarios. But I think frustrating for BLG, they burn so much to force Zeus away. Zeus walks back with full health and it just forces them out immediately.
All right, both AD carriers too do have cleanse options. Elk with the summoner spell, Gumayushi with the Quicksilver Sash purchased here is down a DPS item, but does have that extra utility.
And just as you say it, Mikhail's coming through for On as well. A lot of defensive tools for Elk, but we've highlighted a lot throughout the game. Again, really good counter punching, really good engage if you now can find those angles. But T1 have so many tools that they can kind of throw out. They can test the water, see if there's an avenue to force the fight. And it's so difficult for BLG because you kind of get one moment to pick your shot. You got to pick this shot mid lane, didn't work, and now we're waiting minutes until that
แสดงว่าแจ็คสัญญาไม่ใช่เล่น
We have a minute. I mean, you're looking at the Dragon
ยิงมันก็ได้ทุกอย่างที่แจ็คควรจะได้
T1 and they're going to try and force themselves over towards that objective. Faker again acting as the split push role on bot side, and it's BLG. We're like, cool, let's see if we can burn that teleport for Faker.
Now looking to burn it down. They've already started the objective. Carry from the control ward over the
wall.
They're going to that one, deny as much vision as they can to T1.
They're going
to find the stun with the follow-up. Going to try to cut down for ACC. Going to use that Zeus to lead it. The Dragon's body stolen. The shutdown coming through. BLG priority access to the pivot. Owner still waiting over the wall. Shouldn't really go over. Will they keep this one going? Bin looking for an opportunity to reset. He lost a decent amount of health. BLG, eyes on the prize, eyes on the Baron. Waiting if this is an option for them. T1 ready to contest this 4v5. Bin isolated onto the side. Charm coming out. Flash out to safety. Isolated attack. Now it's a 4v4. 3K getting lower. It's a 50-50. They're going to flip it. They're going a little bit deeper. Owner being isolated. Owner being knocked away. Elk touch on the backside. Baron getting lower and lower. Owner just wants to burn through the Baron. Owner just wants to get out. He's going to take it. He's seeing it. He's for the fight. He wants to get it. On retreat. Bin going forward.
จบแล้ว
Have to
to engage.
อุ้ยเป็นสองตัว
Running forward, Guma can find this now. Two desperate for
สเปซเพื่อน
the remaining members of this team can't escape. It is a heist for the side of T1, but they walk away with the Baron.
The chase is still on though, the cops are still on the way, but BLG will be thwarted, they will just back away, they will get several of those kills, they will get the third dragon, but T1 managed to steal that Baron so well.
Hey, T1 really loves the big Barons. Owner just walks in, 2,900 health, and they themselves pulling it down. Shun with the flash. In the end, BLG actually do deny the soul after that, with the extra kills. They're not even mad. Let's take a look though. This is after Bin gets completely pushed out of the fight. Now he has no E, he has no flash. Carry used the ultimate to do it, and Owner gets a knock up onto Shun. He goes into the Zonias, then just walks in. Shun flashes away from the Baron. So Shun, Owner was like, okay, if Shun just flashed away, let's try and finish it. He gets it.
ไม่งั้นแจ็คก็
Shun
หวาน
tries to
เจี๊ยบ
get
เลย
back in there. Faker the sacrifice, but then the rest of them. Also, Guma usually laying down these feathers, trying to chase them out. Getting 3 members low. Elk doesn't care though. He charges forward with the support of that Lulu.
And it's a good call from T1 because in theory, we already BLG don't have a lot of ways after Yagao to really close the distance, but it's just the speed ups come through from the Lulu making it so tough to get away in that situation. And BLG are able to chase him down. You see the damage dealt in that fight. Insane damage from Guma usually, but not quite enough.
ที่ไม่มีดาเมจเบเกอร์ลิงก็ไปนัวในบาลอน
Seems like they're pretty sick on the pick, and you can see even if BLG take the fight, T1, that was a wild play. If that had failed, that would have looked like one of the most catastrophic failures in the event, but they steal the objective, they get out, they keep the Barons up on 2 members.
ไม่ได้กินยำเล่นยำมันที่ตลาดนะ
Elk is a 71% win rate across both MSI and his domestic region on this take. It has been such a big pick for BLG, and you're starting to see why 73 and 8 approaching full build now at this stage. BLG are going to be looking to use this mega cannon in the backline to see if they can take down T1. But with T1 having that Baron, it makes it a bit tough now for BLG to really break what has been such a stalemate between these 2 teams.
All right. Very tense team fights here. Going to come down to a lot of the vision setup too. Worth pointing out, the whole reason we ended up in that situation was that T1 had to come into vision and you just went over. Yagao didn't have flash ready for that one. And him being in that fog of war on the brush, they stomp Zeus again. Zeus keeps walking up, the Gragas gets chunked out the first time, then he gets taken down the second time, leading to the whole scenario.
And a big thing for T1 now, Zeus picking up the stop, delayed a bit to get the death cap to do more damage, but it has tools to mitigate the potential to get picked off in the fights to come. So one more window of opportunity closing for now for BLG. Going to have to find those angles, but flashes back up. You highlighted. Yao got away without needing it in the previous exchange. If he can find an angle to lock down some of the squisher members of T1, we can see a very BLG favorite fight.
That's why vision control gives you so many rewards here. If they're forced to come up and base check you, BLG don't care if it's the front line. Fine, Zeus, you're the one base checking, you're the big Gragas, don't care.
It does feel like the best way to do this, though, is T1 is to actually try and get control over mid, which we're kind of seeing, and then drift across into here. You already have Faker pushing down this bottom side as well, so as long as you can set up your vision control in that little area, it becomes very hard then for BLG to actually move in, and your biggest focus is on Soul in minute 45. You now establish the vision, which you can see going in already. Like from Carrier, he's already started to pop these down just here. And then you've got TP opportunities for Faker, for Zeus, you have a ton of vision, and it becomes very difficult for BLG to establish themselves in the river because of where they're positioned on the map.
All right, are we going to get a Zeri moment though? Because we've got a full build Elk. He has 2 answers for the CC that comes from T1. The Mikhails, the Cleanse. He's got 3 answers. How many questions do you have answers for? Well, all of them. He's got the entire test written down, the key. Elk will be completely free in this fight. So many answers. Now the only hard thing is not doubling up on those cleanses.
Have that discipline in the fights, not to waste cooldowns, not to overlap. Layer the CC perfectly. It's going to be all about execution for both sides, fishing for those angles. Owner and Vin trading blows. The bottom side of the river. 50 seconds till the soul will spawn for either side. Either one wanting to give it up. I think especially crucial for T1 to take it away. They have so much upfront burst damage. If they cannot delete a health bar, find a reset, find a quick pick, this game gets so much harder. It's a similar story on the opposite side for BLG as Shun and Bin just look to take some space here in the river.
Yeah, and both teams know it. Stopwatches, Guardian Angels being purchased, Zonias to try and deny those resets. They know If a frontline member goes down, then you start getting resets coming through. BLG though, they move in, they sweep that vision that you're talking about.
It's 38 minutes. Everything is up. Every cooldown, every option, every tool. It's all just about who can execute better. Faker throwing out the claw, pushing to get any kind of cooldown, any kind of advantages. Elf just starts to lay down a little bit of poke here.
And he can afford to be really aggressive. He's got double shields on his team, the Lulu shields, the Annie shields, and the triple cleanses. So he can be very aggressive on the Zeri, trying to get health chunks on people. He's gonna be the one reaching the dragon.
On the flank.
Shit.
Trying to get along. Trying to take Zeus out of the exchange. Zeus still standing strong. This deal! The Ocean Soul owner does it again! Masterclass! The heist coming through at BLG. Now desperate, trying to force the fight, trying to get T1 out of this map.
Oh no! He knew what he was doing all along with that Baron! He steals the Baron, he comes in, he steals the dragon!
T1 hugely favored in the fight now. Ocean Soul massive against a lot of his upfront damage. Yigao burned a lot of his abilities. Zeus just healing up, healing through it. Touch on the backside for now. Keep your eyes on the 80 carry. Into the wall, not into the waiting arms of the rest of the team. Faker stun. Faker about to fall. Will Paul as he comes out of this one. Not a lot of tools left. He's going to use the second stopwatch effect to try to live as long as possible. Off on the side is Elf, but he's split from the rest of the team. The shutdown coming through. The reset now coming through. T1 taking the fight, taking the soul, and to grab the Baron as well.
Who's positioning in that fight was so damn good. He was over the wall. You can see that Bean was trying to get access to him, but always had the members of T1 beside him. And now T1 onto the Baron. Elf trying to step up, but there's just no way in. T1 steal Baron, steal Dragon, and now get a Baron for themselves as well.
So much of this game has been neck and neck. Guma and Elf both showing up in the fights. It is Owner ultimately who is the difference maker. The stolen Baron, the stolen soul. He has been so incredibly clutch for T1 in game 1.
What a banger. Let's take a look at it. So, you know yes, your Zeri is on Dragon, burning Dragon down. Yigao goes for the chunk on Zeus like they just did in the previous fight. There was no threat on killing him, and then boom! Wukong over the wall. Owner says, thank you for the leash. And now they've got Ocean Soul, so they have so much sustain in this fight. T1 no, they don't have to rush it. Trying to play it a little bit slow here, chasing BLG, and then once Keria sees the angle onto Yigao, good night.
But look at where Gumayushi's position. No one can really threaten him, and he's constantly getting these feathers into the choke point that BLG are trying to fight through. So the second you start to push forward at BLG, you're just getting ripped apart by these feathers. Even Bin there, because Owner was positioned beside Gumayushi, can't really threaten Guma in the spot that he's in. Even having the Feather Storm, really top tier stuff in the T180 carry.
Yeah, these 80 carries are so safe. Whoa, hold on. We are gonna get
through Keria. Keria has no defensive tools of his own, but he might just make it out of safety. Ocean Soul! Heal him up, watch him walk away. Clutch from Keria to make it out.
It's the steal with the salt to the wound there as Kerry is able to escape, but it does slow down T1 that little bit as they're not going to be able to let off fully on this Baron.
Chaosed himself for just the tiniest little sliver of hope there to make it out to safety. Credit to him to survive. Obviously, taking out a major engage option could fit BLG an angle to at least slow down this Baron, if nothing else.
I just love the evolution of BLG. This team that has been underrated all year long, showing up so big here at MSI. I mean, people were saying they couldn't hang with the three top dogs of T1, Gen G, and JDG. But they have that dog in them as well. Let's see if they still can repel this T1 fight, because now they're coming with Ocean Soul, that big advantage, and then slowly taking away the secondary turrets first.
Honor going to the wall, immediately coming right back. Just getting a bit of poke here, knowing it'll stick that much more effectively given that they have Ocean Soul on the inside. Now waiting, the angle trying to find a way to back on Keria, ready to fall. They're taking their time, they're delaying the re-engage. Keria, it's trying to find the angle, but now BLG fighting their way back out. How they overcommitted. The TP now coming in under the anti-bear. Owner getting cut down. The Ocean Soul, not enough. The resets coming in. The stolen Wukong is all eyes on Guma. Guma, can he do it? But it's Elk getting rooted up, and Elk tearing through the team. If you give BLG an inch, they will take everything from you. Elk, 3 kills in the fight.
BLG refused to go down. Elk stepped up, says Gumayushi, what you got? And the feathers missed by an inch. BLG, they might have just done it.
Incredible push down mid lane. They found the fight. The reset coming in for Faker. The death timer is too damn long. A single cannon creep will be enough to allow them to break open the base. They're going to do everything they can. Clear that one away. No big objectives on the map. Yes, they have won the fight, but they do not end the game. It will not mean a damn thing. The wave coming in, Faker has to give his life to clear this wave if he wants to keep the hopes alive here in game 1. 5 seconds on Carrier. Getting over 9 seconds. Faker eyes on the prize. The wave are now locked up. Can they show the Faker from the fight kicks off Carrier? But easy to protect his mid laner. T1 holding on with the re-engage. Is there? How can it have another 2 with his owner on the backside? But Ben has his eyes on the prize. His eyes on the nexus of T1. And BLG will take the first game.
Oh, they've got that dog in the ball. They stare him in the face. Nice Ocean Soul also don't care. Owner goes down under that tower, and Elk runs them over.
ใช้นี้เลยเพื่อน
Look at Tommy on your screen there. That is a man who is so incredibly happy with his boys. The fact that BLG, again, coming up against the LTK powerhouses and managing to take that game 1 where no one expected them to be able to do it.
Everybody loves underdog stories.
I love this.
BLG cruising through MSI here. They have so much momentum they're building.
กายนี่หว่ากายทำอะไรอ่ะ
It's
กายไม่ได้เลย
overflowing. Stare.
กายไม่ทำ
Keeping the stern, cool expression. It is only 1 game, but what a first game. More than 40 minutes long. Back in the nail-biting team fights, almost dead even on the gold leads. And T1, that has to hurt because that was anyone's game right up until the final moments.
I love it. Oh, so much fun to watch here.
It came down to just minute details, right? You end up with so many of these steals that are coming through from owner. Right out of his mind to get those to happen. But even just that flash feather point on the head from Gumayushi, just barely missing Elk. If those are connected, Elk goes down and suddenly it's T1 that are ending the game. The fact that it came down to just these minute details has me so excited for the rest of this series.
Look, I'm fired up. At the end of the day, that's enough from us. Let's hear what the analyst desk had to say. I think we need to take a breather before we get to game 2. Never mind.
Yes? I get it. I love watching these 2 teams play, and I gotta say, against BLG, you cannot give them anything. Not an auto attack, not a chance to stun you up, not a chance to let Alk run over you, because they will. I'm flabbergasted, and I continue to be watching this team.
Yeah, I feel like BLG has gained a new fan in you.
Yeah, it's crazy. it's insane.
The most shocking thing for me, actually, with how crazy the fans were, was how calm BLG actually looked afterwards.
Yeah.
Like they've lived this for so long that this is just every day for them.
Yes, talk me through this fight then. It seemed like it was over.
Yeah, I really want to highlight Owner going in there while the rest of his team was there partially to follow up. They don't get to Elk at all. Elk just gets to move untouched, and Zeri, as we've seen over the last year and a half, these moments of space, particularly how well Elk has been playing this tournament, are going to be more than enough. And as the cause has pointed out as well, those of the Feather recall at the end, if that hits Elk, it's a 1-0, but instead BLG take a lead here in the series.
I love looking at this gold graph. I also, I believe Elk is only going to be boosting his DPM numbers here with this Zeri performance.
Yes.
I think once again, like everything, we started like taking notes, pulling stuff in the early game. They were like, no, it's not going to matter. It's going to come down to objective team fights.
12 kills, 1,242 damage per minute, and 44.6% damage percentage, chat. Nah, not enough for you?
That's fine. It's just kind of what we've come to expect from Elk so far at this tournament. You can see he was 300 DPM above Gumayushi going into this. They're building entire compositions around it. You heard the casters talking about how he had Cleanse, they had McHale's, he had QSS. He was ready to go.
And I want to go again back because this is what we saw last year with Zeka, right? Not necessarily considered a great player in his own right, and then comes into the tournament and just has performance after performance after performance.
I see what you're doing.
Right? I mean, look at this.
That you're planting for sure. Let's focus in on a couple of things that. I mean, we saw such a long game with so many fights, but G-Sun alerted us to the fact that the Heralds were going to be really important in these games, Chad.
And it's mainly because BLG are psychopaths.
Yep.
So I'm just going to show the start of this, where T1 kill Yigao. And we are 8 minutes into the game. And the most important thing when this happens is you pull up the mini-map and you think, okay, this is now T1's Herald, because it is a 2v3 on the top side, and because bot lane is still in lane. Like, I can understand for other teams if your bot lane is already rotating up and say they're somewhere around here, that you would think of contesting this Herald, but what BLG does is they still decide to contest the Herald. They run all the way up, and even though they don't get the Herald, you can see Guma didn't follow. They chase for the fight afterwards.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of classic BLG, right? Where you think like, oh, there's no way that they can possibly want to actually contest this, but then they come in, they're able to get so many advantages off of this, especially in terms of getting Elk ahead, because previously, again, we saw a lot of these plays are like, it's a little shaky, maybe you wouldn't want to do this, and it's going to be very back and forth. It started with the super early bot dive that they tried, right? But Elk comes out of that 1-0-1, and that ends up setting him up. So for credit for BLG, it's these can go either way in a lot of cases, I think. But additionally, I do feel like they know exactly what they need to do, which is feed Elk, and then he will deliver in team fights.
And I really want to highlight that for most of that match, BLG felt like they were in control, right? It came down to a Baron steal that T1 wasn't able to use very well, and the fact that they got the soul, and credit to Owner for that, but T1 generally are the ones that are in control, so the fact that BLG is able to kind of keep them away from generating momentum is really big.
They won the game, so obviously they very much were, but we were talking during the game, Chronicler, and you were saying, I do feel like T1, they took a lot from that series yesterday that Gen G ended up losing to BLG in terms of keeping at least the map state somewhat under control in all that chaos.
Yeah, and what was really big here is how Bin was neutralized for a lot of this. I think that Bin was the big difference maker in previously, and obviously in the Gragas, you're always going to have a hard time in the 1v1, but both Keria and Zeus were doing a really good job of always keeping track of the flank wards, particularly on an Ocean Rift map that can be really hard. But you still got to win the final team fight, right? It shows that BLG isn't just about Bin or Yagao popping off, finding a big flank. Their actual team fighting now is up to par to where it needs to be in this tournament.
And that's what we're seeing, I think, right, Chad? They are taking steps every single day from every game that they play that is so close that they are on point in these team fights. How do you see it evolving?
Yeah, well, I see this team maintaining their momentum from yesterday to today. So one thing that we noticed during the draft is compared to game one of BLG versus Gen G, there were 7 shared champions on the Rift. So T1 had 4/5 of what Gen G had, and BLG had top and bottom that were identical. It was the mid jungle that was different. And with the same bottom lane matchup, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
They stacked a wave, they dove Gumayushi, and they got early kills for Elk. And I was concerned for BLG going into the day because everything went well for them yesterday. So sometimes you can be so overconfident and you like expect things to work and maybe you skip steps or something, but they've managed to continue to play like maniacs, but also maintain the high level of execution. So I'm very impressed with their game one.
If I could nitpick one thing, maybe protect your objectives a little bit better. Both Baron and Drake. I feel like you could have tracked Owner a little bit more. But yeah, I do think they are so incredibly confident in their team fighting. Both of these teams are. That once those fights start, it's all about execution.
Yeah, and I don't think we should say any more dragging down. It's more making them play your game. In fact, they need to
You're
step
pulling
up
them
to
into their pace. It's the BLG pace that they're pulling
exactly. Well, it's an absolute team fight masterclass in game one. We want to see more of this, so we'll be right back with game 2 after the break. Woo!
T1 got the objective, but they're not going to make it on the last turn. The fire back is damn clean, but BLG still coming ahead and kills. On stepping forward, the Lulu empowered by the anti-shield. They're going to keep it going. One more reset for Shun, taking Gumayushi's body, taking his soul, taking the fight in the triple as well. He defies death, and it is out in trouble, but he fires back as well. On the edge of madness, on the edge of insanity, they finally kill the AD carry of BLG. Ready to reset, ready to find the CC to protect his mid laner. T1 holding on, but the re-engage is there, and BLG will take the first game.
Oh, they've got that dog in them all right. BLG.
A team against a king. Seeing against believing. A moment against a moment for the ages. Countless battles, one arena, the realm. The only thing capable of powering the game, the stage, the broadcast, and worldwide spectacle we know and love, aka the Cisco Network.
new and existing customers can choose the phone they want, like the incredible iPhone 14 on us.
Not to brag, but I'm on Verizon now. And I got to choose the phone I wanted for free.
Not that you're bragging.
Choose the phone you want on us. Verizon.
I'm not here to hurt you. I'm you. From the future. I don't know what happens in the future, but it's not up to you to fix the world all by yourself.
แค่หนาวอยู่ไหม
Welcome back to the Cash Desk and MSI 2023 for Game 2 after an incredibly back-and-forth Game 1 between BLG and T1. And reminder, you're all feeling it, the stress, the tension. Take a breath, reset. We're gonna have to wait. There's a pick ban. There's an early game where people probably won't just 5v5, so just it's coming back.
You know nothing.
You have a few minutes. Take that time to relax. You know,
Let's get some more smite fights here. I'd love to see it. Owner keeping T1 hopes alive, stealing the Baron, stealing the soul, but it wasn't enough. BLG just too good and so much built up around fully embracing these bot lane carries. That is how you're going to win the game. You have to put everything into it.
And I'm really curious to see how he actually makes a good drive coming into this, right? Because we got the Jinx ban coming through from BLG. Do they try to use that? As well, when you look across things like Yanni, I really don't think you can give it to Yago. Yago hasn't really been having the best performance in MSI, but when most of your content is, pick champion, click on them and do your job, but it works out really well. So I think getting rid of these champions are definitely make it a bit of an easier time for T1, especially in those early skirmishes where Annie was just popping off.
No, I
ผู้
think
หญิงอย่างว่านานี้ไม่หาจังที่ไหน
it chips up the AD carry. Meta immediately it just turns into a Zeri for Zion trade
ผู้หญิงแบบไหน
more often than not. And BLG came ahead on that trade previously. For now, Luna's been coming in against T1. That will remain the case. T1 keep taking away these priority jungles. They were able to move on previously, but just really want to make sure the Shen does not get a chance to play it.
Yeah, the drop in the Maokai ban, believing more than likely that BLG are going to ban it away themselves. It's been an incredibly strong pick, but that's exactly what the plan is. If you're BLG, you also give the opportunity here for you, either the Maokai or the Kasante to be left open unless T1 decides to ban away one of them themselves.
All right, are they going to slam it down? I personally think that Lulu is just such a big problem too. So much late game scaling with everybody having engaged in all three roles. The peeling there, okay, they leave up the choice. Now you have to decide if you're going to be able to ban the Maokai or you want to get it back on the trade. It gives so much more team fights. I feel like the Kasante, there's no way this thing gets through anymore ever. All right.
What is the response now from the side of BLG? I'll hold my breath, audience. Copperbox, just take a breath. They're not there yet, but the Jinx has been the prio pick. It's been the premier option. Once both the carriers are familiar with the power of the Aphelios, I think Jinx just becomes the immediately stronger pick, and BLG going to prio it.
And usually you get to see something like a Sejuani coming out here, at least from the LPL team. Because the idea is, hey, look, I can just stick a big beefy frontliner in the way of that Maokai ultimate, and now we have the Jinx that's got that long range, and let's just try and play for that, where we can kite back and always have that Sejuani ult to start off fights on our terms. But with the Lulu taken as well, you're looking at a very strong bot lane for BLG.
Now we've seen this tried before. When you give up the Lulu pick down there for bottom side to pick a Blitzcrank to make it volatile and look for kills, especially when you have the Blitzcrank plus either a Maokai or a Nautilus, and you have these two champions flashing forward trying to create lots of early kills around the early dragon skirmishes. But I also really like when you go for the ROM looks. Okay, flex.
All right, calm down, T1 fans. It's a flex. It's a flex.
It could be
หมายว่าแค่กดนาซิลุสแม้กระทั่งนักภาพมันก็ไอ้นี่เลยเหรอ
bottom lane. Carria's Nautilus was amazing. Okay, Carria's Nautilus amazing. So that's definitely the better look for T1. I know everybody. You can hear the whole crowd. Everybody at home too. As soon as they see it, and it is Faker locking it in, but he easily trade his bottom lane and look for those hooks, those kills. Same idea as Blitz.
And that's what I was going to say. I think it's a great option as well because you can give it down to one side, but it's also a takeaway from Yago. Yago has been trying to play this. It's very easy, kind of going back to that point-and-click style that we're talking about, and setting then up this team for success. So it actually opens up your bands here as well because it still fulfills that role of trying to pick up onto the Lulu. So I do like it. Sion for Bin though, very surprised that. I know he was playing at a huge amount after losing 2 ADG and 369 the finals on him. We've traditionally seen him go, maybe play 1 or 2, but I want to go back to my Jax. I want to go back to being a carry. We'll have to see how this one's going to pan out though.
And I'm already making my level 1 plan now. Everybody is now so used to it, they're like, C-San, red side, okay. You're level 1.
Yeah, remember saying like marking a 5 at level 1? I was wrong, okay? It's going to be all about this bot side.
And that's exactly how T1 responded against JDG, right? We saw JDG try and go for that invade, and T1 were like, all right, let's go. Fisticuffs up, we'll see what you can do, and then them trading 1 for 1. It's going to be a similar story here where T1 try and take that.
And BLG, they're not surprised by the Nautilus flex. They're keeping their eyes open. As soon as you have the Maokai, everybody always thinks of AD mid laners, the Jace, the Tristana. And they're like, you know what? It could very easily go there, so they ban away the Tristana. They're more scared of that one. And they cover both bases, so they don't want to let through that blitz I was talking about for the double hook composition here.
Keeping that option open though, to see where ultimately the Nautilus is going to end up. I think it's a good call out. Just on over to Faker. I mean, does he have another AD mid lane option that he wants to go for? Will he go for the Jace, or will they just be content with putting him on a utility and finding another carry angle elsewhere? Is this a game where we see perhaps a Kindred come in again? Certainly good against a lot of tanky frontlines, but not a champion who has looked good whatsoever in the past few days. Instead, BLG gonna be the ones to grab the Kindred for themselves.
Now, Elk literally had Kindred banned against him 15 games in a row in LPL. We're saying if someone's going to play it, you can give the pass to Elk. He's an exceptional shooter.
Shun is actually insane. Yeah, we know where you're going. Shun is mid-pick at 4. This has been a massive pick for me when we initially joined IG. Everyone knew in the LDL that this was the pick for him. And there's something that we tried to see rookie facilitate to a certain amount when he's on the scaling. Now BLG get to bring it out, but I mean, look at that composition that you see coming through. Now with the Jace, going to have good push in the mid lane for Faker. You can't say us onto this 10 who can just try and dive into the back line. Shun is going to have his work cut out from you've got it in my head.
He who holds the champion occupies your brain space. This is an insane Silas angle though. Maokai ultimate, Nautilus ultimate, even Kennen ultimate. Insane ultimates to seal here for Yagao.
See where they want to ultimately swap this one, what the angle is going to be, but certainly a lot of explosive team fighting potential on the side of T1. Jason, a bit of a volatile mid laner. Certainly if he falls behind, can feel a little bit lackluster, but BLG going to try their hand at the double 80 carry composition with the Kindred. Again, has not looked great in the last few best of five, but if anyone can do it, it should. See how T1 can try to snowball here in the early game. They have so many tools, kind of like last game, to get fights kicked off in their favor.
And I mentioned as soon as the sign was locked in, you better start thinking about your level 1. Guess what? Kindred is one of the junglers that benefits the most from aggressive level 1 starts here. You can be so aggressive with this champion. Everyone in solo queue cheeses with it. All you need is a red buff on Kindred, and they can go for it. We even saw Owner himself trying to utilize that, going for the invade. So let's see about it. Will BLG be able to get off to a crazy start?
I'm really curious to see how BLG can make it work though, because you need to hit the ground running. If Faker ends up, getting pushed in mid and then is able to facilitate a lot of this potential 5v5, that's exactly what we saw against JDG in that game too. So we're excited to see if T1 will just take the fight once more, or if we can end up in this bit match situation that will benefit Shun so well.
Here we are, gearing up for game. Normally, it's a brief moment of calm over the Scion on the Rift. We know what to expect. It's going to be all about this level 1, these advantages, and the Scion passive. It is time for game 2 between BLG and T1.
ขึ้นคือใครก็ขึ้นคือ
Of course, here in the featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. No surprise to see the supports called out. Carry again on the big playmaker on once again. See what they can do as we get closer to the team fights. But level 1 kicking off. T1, what is the answer here? This has been such a difficult strategy to really do anything against.
Okay, if they keep Kennen topside, I want to see Zeus pull the minion wave to try and focus the minions so that you can get it pushing towards you and deny the Scion. But it looks like they might go for a re-entry.
สู้ได้อยู่
Alright, they just ward up topside Raptors. BLG doing the same here, dropping the ward on Krugs, dropping the full ward here, up by Raptor Rush, and wrapping around for the Scion pull. Nobody is surprised.
บัตรหลายคัดดาว
I'm just waiting to see if T1 want to invade here. If they don't test this vision at all, I think it would be very risky to even walk forward. Now going to sweep out the ward, just a bit of poke over the wall on to carry. That damage will stick as the creeps are coming to lane quite quickly. So BLG will be uncontested on the start. Can they find the follow-up dive as well? Do they want to try to match here on the level 1 around this brush? For now, the answer is no.
So it looks like BLG going to be able to get this off. Gumayushin carries that wrap around though. Will be spotted by Bin.
Showing about to hit level 2 here. Bin walking out. Scion, hands down the most obnoxious level 1 champion.
And just looking at the mini-map, Zeus is just going to push the wave here on top. So top side T1 is trying to get
แย่แน่จริงได้เข้าคลิปก่อนนะแย่น่าไปบอกเลยนะ
Right down there, but it's still level 1. We're thinking about poke. He pulled the red buff to reset it, crucially denying Kindred that red. But now 3 members on the side of T1 on the bottom side of the map. It's a 4v3. Stepping in, spotting Owner now. What is the actual angle here? He'll crash his way, but Guma's not getting any experience.
Guma missed that entire first wave. He's missing the second. So even if BLG don't get the dive, they're still making Guma lose so much.
Hook from carry is big. As well, they have so much CC to try to stop this play. They're trying to lock down the Scion. Have to be careful of the passive. BLG, I think, just happy to walk away with a massive bot side advantage. T1 on the opposite side, getting Zeus on the top side, some CS, but is it going to balance out?
Honestly, it is pretty big. This one is the most delayed the Scion has been, getting the least amount of value on the top side. He was able to bounce the wave off of the turret already. He was able to deny it. So Zeus up 2 minion waves before Bin even arrives, and Bin didn't get to do the Scion death. Go for dive, get any extra kills here. Kennen can have such a big impact. The Kindred ultimates, as long as you get it off early, can be difficult to work around, but there is not a exhaust on the side of BLG for the team fights for later. So Zeus on one of his signature champions, the lightning theme that goes along with his name, might be able to have that big influence.
And it does feel like a huge amount of it is going to be like, Shun, can you get that ult as you say? But also, Yago, big Maokai ultimates. Can you actually turn around and Kennen ult of yourself? Even on getting some of those whimsies off as the Zeus tries to come in, they can make such a difference. But Shun now moving down to this bottom side is going to be able to pick up this crap for himself and get his first mark of the game.
Always questing before, want that extra 75 attack range, big break point for Kindred so frequently. Now Shun setting his sights on the mid
เทส
lane.
ป่า
Favoring
กับ
a
เท
back
ส
step at a moment.
เอดี
Maybe just gonna try to get the
เรียบร้อย
flash here. Yeah, I'm not going for it.
Odo
Leave
Ram,
up. He's gonna connect on the snare. Faker not gonna trade back. There's Sapling waiting in the bush.
ลูก
Owner over the wall here. Blaze just gonna fade away. Faker still walking out with his flash. They're not gonna cost him too much. But Shun, level 4, now stepping forward into Owner. 3, 4 on the mounting Dread. 1, 2, 3. Press the attack moving in as well. Yeah, looking for the ball, but Zeus is right behind them. This is a bit aggressive. They're gonna need to try to find their way out of this one. Bit coming in, but it might be too little too late. They're trying desperately to burn through Zeus. Early shut down. BFG He's got no man. Been desperate to get something back, but he's just a side. Hitting as much as he can. The pass is gonna be big here. They have to slow down the zone. Faker running for his life. Zeus gonna find the stun. Everyone on T1 will walk away in incredible play.
And the top lane advantage does matter.
การ
Top
แก้เกมแบบ
lane
ผู้มีประสบ
matters.
การณ์
Zeus with the push, Zeus with the lightning. He brings it down on BLG. Bin cannot join early. We talked about how much he was pushed off. He was so far down, and Zeus zones him, so he joins the fight first, even with the extreme chase of BLG, of Shun on this Kindred. You want to abuse early on Kindred, but it's just too far. Top lane advantage. Here comes the cannon. Guess what? Power in numbers, Daka.
And this is the big thing. BLG just overextend. T1 have the collapse, and this is what Shun can bring. He can look absolutely fantastic. Have an incredible series like we saw yesterday. But at times, he will just overextend. We've seen it domestically, we've seen it at MSI, and now we're seeing it in this lower bracket final as well. BLG stepped that bit too far
ไม่เลี้ยว
forward,
เผื่อ
and
มัน
T1
แบบไม่ให้มาคุมทางพื้นที่อะใช่ปะ
Errors
ให้เดอะบูฟเล่น
so
มัน
much
นี่
invested from BLG on the bottom side of the map with their
คือ
level
สกิลหนึ่ง
1
มันคุมได้
advantage.
ทางนั้นตรงนั้นเลยนะเว้ยแต่แม่งแบบ
Painful for Bin.
โดนที่
หัน
ขึ้น
เข้าโคน
So far behind, and then they decide to fight and
โอ้ยเรียบร้อย
overchase
ตายแล้วเนี่ย
into that side of the jungle.
Maybe it was Steven
แค่
Cook
บางที
make,
โปร
but
เพ
again,
เยอร์ก็
not
มี
Dread
ลกปะ
connecting. Does he want to keep
เอ้า
going on now? Flashing in there, fully committed to take out the score, but he can just hook the wall and walk away. Owner here as well. BLG.
เรื่องตื่นสนาม
feels like
ตื่นสนามมันจะหนักอันนี้มันเล่นมาจนรอบนี้ได้แล้วมันไม่น่ามีตื่น
Garrio's got Hex Flash, so he's
โลก
actually not too worried about
มันอาจจะมีโรคที่แบบ
Stand active. Shun, shun,
ตาย
shun.
แล้วเนี่ย
โปรเพเยอร์คนหนึ่งมันต้องฝึกเล่นหลายตัวไงถูกปะล่ะ บางทีความเซียนไซออนมันอาจจะไม่เท่าเดอะบูฟก็ได้
อุ้ย
The second prop just barely getting onto Faker there, even with the flash. And I didn't think that was going to work. BLG, no flash on Yagao, no flash on Shun. But Faker, that big far up in the lane, and Shun with the revisit will pick up the kill.
Staying very active on this Kindred, ganking every
เนี่ย
single
มองไป
lane.
แม่งได้ปากคืน
I mean, technically,
ไม่
I
ได้
guess
ซี
we'll
เอส
say
มัน
the
ได้
top
นี่
lane
คือ
chase
กินเด็ด
was
แม่งไล่หา
top lane play, but get some money right back there for BLG. Faker, no flash on the Jace 2. So you're
เนี่ยมา
always
ใคร
thinking
ตัง
about
นำทีม
repeat visits.
แล้วก็เลนบน
Now
เนี่ย
level 6 on the Silas.
กดเป็น
So
ครึ่ง
Owner has to be very careful whenever he shows around this mid lane. Yes, you want to throw saplings. Yes, you want to get vision for Faker. But if you show too close to Yagao, then he gets to steal your ultimate, one of the best ultimates in the game.
But it's anyone on T1 that shows up essentially gives a good ultimate. Hey, Nautilus, can you help? No, sorry, I don't want to give that across. Hey, Zeus, can you help? No, I don't want to give that across. And now BLG find Bane on that top side as T1. Start to move in, Owner in position, but looks like they will just back away for the moment.
That's the big thing about the Sion. It's very hard to dive this champion. Rock coming bot lane, trying to stop the back, get a little bit of the tempo advantage here, but not going to come through. Going to get a clean reset. Makes it to make it in time. Elk going to grab that CS there. And an interesting game. Top side for T1 so very much in their favor. 2 kills to the Maokai feels excellent. Tied up in CS, been very far behind. But the bottom side for DLG, the mid lane as well, definitely looking in their favor.
But that's what I like what T1 are doing. They're like, hey, look, let's try and get as much vision down as possible. You can see the ward that spotted out, shown on Crooks. Owner actually looking for the invade here off Faker's and even just getting saplings down so you can spot his Shun's route. Now you know for a fact that Shun's going to be on bot side, so I imagine you'll see bot lane playing very passive, especially with Rift Herald about to come up. Looks like Owner just got a trade, knowing that he saw Shun go bot side.
Honestly, love this from Owner. I also love his build, by the way. I'm not a big fan of the first strike Maokai. You know, yeah, going for the DPS and trying to get really early demonic. I'm a much bigger fan of the tank Maokais here. And phase rush makes it so much easier to play the mid game, play those team fights as well as the skirmishes. And he's going to be able to get the Rift Herald on top of those kills. The thing about Rift Herald, it gives you a lot of gold. It's also a lot of concentrated gold onto the jungle, and that is solo pickup for him. So this is going to be a very beefy Maokai, a real frontline Maokai.
And I think he's going to be able to empower Zeus even more here. The fact that you have nearly double the gold for Zeus versus that side of 17,200 for Zeus. You've got plates that are falling on that top side. You can wander up there as Maokai, pop down that, and just make sure that this is going to be
Rocket connecting. Maybe overstaying, putting a little bit. Guma immediately going to find the snare. Polymorph and force back. Coming in, good damage on Elk, and he snipes him. They're just between the minions. That was a duel at high noon. Oh my God! Caught out immediately, lands respite, but he's pushed out. Carry and owner making it happen on the bottom side. Carry yoinks him off the Kindred Ultimate under the tower. T1 answer. How out of mana. No avenue left there as first strike comes back up. Bloodbath on the bottom side.
Oh, that was so beautiful. The 80 carries drawing in the duel down there. Ultimate for Zap.
It's the Zap gap, right? Just barely manages to squeeze it through, but so and Elk getting that kill. Nice return though with carries, he said. Just barely managing to get that hook outside of the range of that Kindred Ultimate will get the kill, but Elk now starting to rotate up. This is something we see a lot from the LPL teams where they're like, cool, we just want to get this Jinx as much gold and solo XP as possible. So, well, not solo at the moment, but they're going to see if they can get onto Zeus as he continues to push in.
Bit of stakes to this play as well. Aphelio's perfect guns to take towers once you have white gun. You can really set these things up. They need to find a kill or at least a flash onto Zeus. He's strong, but he really hasn't spent that much money. He is going to be forced to flash out to save BLG. Can they keep the pressure up on the top side? Because already Guma's going to start hitting plates and tearing through that tower in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and they've got Roof Trail too, remember, from the last time around. So they can go with really, really deep. I'd love to see a double turret charge here for T1. The problem with BLG trying to trade sides here, Roof Trail kind of has to be answered.
And that's the thing, you've got red, white here, we're going to be Yushi, they've got down the Herald, it's not impossible now for you to actually match this as BLG, so T1, even though we got already killed, they're going to get a ton of gold back onto Yushi.
Yeah, secondary charge is even more critical. Secondary towers here on both side lanes being buffed up to being 800 gold for your team. So much value if they can get the 2-for-1. The charge gets off, they see Bindo and they're gonna back off.
Need to overcommit there, but you can see moments ago, significantly down to about 600.
The big thing though is that BLG actually do manage to break both side turrets, right? Yes, you get the charge onto the tier 2, but you don't have a huge amount of pressure down there at the moment, so at least the moment BLG are answering turret.
Yeah, it is greedy, but that's why I really like to see teams fully commit to trying to get that secondary turret. It's an ult shot for a snap shot.
That minion just betrayed him. It just walked out of the way and said, nah, I'm good. Whoa, that's
the reverse creep block. It's like, bro, I tried to, but you're just in the way.
You can see the turn, I mean, looks so good from the rest, but they're immediately arcane smash. Backwards, into the keeping him there, or the passive rather. But now on the top side, all pretty roll. Sans for T1, but there's so much backup here. Sans had a massive advantage, but Shun looking to take him down.
Great job for BLG, immediately the roll up, and again, look at what they're doing with this Jinx, constantly keeping her solo. Bin is also solo, and there's a lot more T1 members around.
Swaying. They're looking for an angle to all trying to get away.
Handy.
Body blocks coming in. They'll get away out of this one. It'll take a little bit of time to tear through the Scion. Bin flashing it all, take the body block coming out as well. They're going to trade flash for flash. Going to try to eat the wave here as soon as he goes zombie mode just to stop any further pressure from T1, but a clean pick on the bottom side.
He'll manage to pick up the kill, but you need to see Yaga pushing that top side. Elk getting pushed in the mid as well, so nice one for T1 to manage to get that kill. Just have to see if they can try and push that forward and actually threaten that tier 2 as Elk is in that mid lane. You've got the roam from Carry as well. BLG really needs to respond to spot lane pressure.
Faker stepping forward, doing a good amount of damage. That point back in, Gale Force forward from Elk. Elk takes those. 2-level disadvantage, but the Gale Force power spike significant enough that he can turn that one with On backing him up, and now BLG taking control on the bottom side of the river.
1 second left on Elk's ulti. It's a long time between the chunk and the recall. He's not going to go for it. A few seconds barring that one, so Faker gets it off. Faker gets his Eclipse.
Crucial to have. We check in 13 minutes into the game. 1,000 gold in favor of T1. A lot of that still on the Kennen. You see massive difference there on the top side, but Elk pulling very far ahead of Guma. We've seen more often than not this meta all about engages and all about carries. Currently Elk has the edge. Zeus can do versus Yagao on the bottom side of the board. Getting closer and closer. 35 seconds till the Ocean Drake. Stacking has been big in these long games.
That stop onto should have used them. We want to reset and get his Dragon Slayer. Now going to be late to the party. You can see he's trying to reset. He even stopped it again here. Shun hasn't been able to reset, whereas you look at the Radiant Virtue already there for Owner. This is going to give him a total presence here for T1 in the river as Dragon's about to spawn.
After the push, the ward in the mid lane, Elf just trying to lay down a little bit of poke. Yoink. Stealing away the Maokai Elephant is big though. Owner can't deny that by trying to twist it advance forward if there's no target.
Yep, that control ward giving the vision there. Gal was able to get it for the dragon fight. They know though. Alright, now watch this cannon. Saves does not have flash, he does have proto belt though. Fishing around, a lot of deep vision for T1 through the blue quadrant of the jungle and BLG. They push the mid lane first, and they'll use that mid lane push on the minions to move into the river again. The classic 1-2 steps every team does to get access to the dragon.
Ace has the flank angle. Gal gonna try to mark him and spot him out, but TP being channeled to the top side. Just gonna keep the pressure up, willing to concede this Drake. TP being matched now. The dragon will go over to the side of BLG.
A lot of members of T1 moving up towards the top side though. You see Area was thinking about going for something on the top of the tower.
Locked him under the tower, Ben trying to fire back! Oh, I just 1v1 him!
แล้วทำไมมันเป็นอยู่ในป้อมเขาอะ
Let me see the beginning of that. Check the
อยู่ดีไซออนดิ
I don't know what happened to Zeus there, but Finn
โหและไอ้ตังและไอ้กระดานตังที่นี่แม่งขึ้นมาย้ำด้วยนะว่าตังนำ1,800อะโดนของโซโลคิว
If they want to try and contest for this rift out, you can see that with the way T1 is set up kind of defensively across that line, might be a bit tough. They're just happily trading for the bot lane turret for Yaga instead.
Getting that extra pressure, and again, we'll have to take a look back on what exactly went wrong there, but Sion definitely a champion you can't afford to overstep against under tower at least, so the deficit not mattering here is being overconfident.
Minion wave, look at this minion wave.
เอ้าทำเหี้ยอะไรอะ
ใช่ไหมทุบ
สุดเลยเหี้ย
ทุบเลย
ทำไมอะ
That's a big upseat in a very high-stake game. Ben seems
ไอ้เหี้ย
unfazed
นั่น
and
เล่นไซออนแน่เลย
unsurprised.
And unlike Licorice, that one actually happened.
That was absolutely insane. The fact he managed to get that one, it was just nuts. T1, massive mistake, and now BLG, they actually start to get decent control on the top side. You can see there's
ทำไมนะเข้าไปตีเลยนะเข้าไปตี
They want to try and get that push and continue to get this goal.
เดินล็อกพลาดอย่างว่าดูแต่ล็อกพลาดมันก็ไซออนมันนาน
Jack Show now picked up for Finn as well.
เขาก็ล็อกเขาก็
Right, a lot of that goal.
สับคีฟของเขาเฉยๆนะ
I love it when we get the big Rams and he's just shaking. Even though he's down 40 CS here on the Sion, had the level 1 commitment for himself, still gets the solo kill.
Yeah, and I think even for Zeus, it's crushing because you were the one really strong point of the map. You've now been isolated and picked off twice. One, commendable play from BLG that time, just a mistake from Zeus. And at the beginning of the tournament, Kennen was not a priority for the LCK or the LPL, but for LEC, it was very highly, and it looked not very impactful. I thought that we'd see something different from Zeus, but it's really hard, it seems, to transition these Kennen advantages out of lane, especially against a team like BLG.
Alright, well, he is level 11, does have flash.
มันจะมีบางตัวที่เกาหลีชอบเล่นแต่ว่าฝรั่งไม่ค่อยเล่น
Mark over there, keep vision of him. You mentioned the Lulu polymorphin
ร้านขายได้คนนี้เจน
พวกเจสลีซินอะไรเงี้ยพวกตัวดีเซียจีนเขาชอบเล่นกันแต่ว่าฝรั่งไม่ค่อยเล่นเจสเนี่ยไม่รู้เป็นไรเกาหลีไม่รู้เป็นไรกับเจสเฮ้ย
Elf could be in trouble now, though.
อุ้ยเข็นนี่
A lot of tools coming in.
Win one.
He's going to attack Elf immediately when he cleanse. We'll locked up briefly. He got stolen ultimate, so denying the play in the mid lane. Just in exchange for the cleanse.
It's not really like T1 lose anything though. There's no real presence on the top side. You can see Finn isn't able to push in too far. They're still going to be able to move down to the bot side to collect it. So the fact you now burnt that cleanse is actually going to be massive for the Dragon in 2 minutes time. So really nice call there for T1, trying to prioritize burning some of these Thunder spells off of Elf before these objectives come up.
Definitely an advantage. As long as they can force a fight, as long as they can find an angle, Yao stepping up, looking to break open. And off to the side just to prevent a potential follow. Tower taken out, more gold into the back pocket of Elf. Closer and closer to that second item.
Nice force there from BLG. Top side push in, they rotate over, bully down this tower, and more money into the Jinx.
Yeah.
And you can feel the tension now, because we're getting closer and closer. It's only 18 minutes of the game, but you know, the big 5v5s are right around the corner. A lot of the lane advantages early on are starting to fall away now as these towers fall. Putting up 2v2s, 3v3s, and of course, fighting for the major objective. A minute and 18 seconds. Cloud is on the table. And either side going to rush to Baron too quickly.
I think for T1, the big thing they need to do is try and get some sort of flank positions here for Zeus. If you can get like a ward that isn't swept out, or like we saw in the last game, right? They were very good at trying to get these deep wards. Get that position for Zeus. He has flash. Maybe you can make some magic happen where you get access towards Elk, especially with that cleanse being down. But I think it does just become so difficult with how the map is set up at the moment. Elk has mid prio. Yeah, go back out onto the map first.
I like a name
pushing
you
bot side.
have.
So it makes it quite hard for T1 to really get that
I like a
presence on the
name.
map to start to get these deeper wards.
And the reason everyone has joined the ruler school of thought of this Jinx over the Aphelios is that range advantage when you've got Jinx with the fish bones, with the lethal tempo stacked, especially once he's able to get his rapid fire cannon, and you've got a Kindred peeling, a Lulu peeling, this massive frontline peeling. It's so hard to crack that team fight, and the massive gold advantage here, almost 1,500 for Elk, really funding that power.
โซ่ขาระเบิดแม่งโคตรเลยจริงๆถ้าทุบโดนก็ไอ้นี่
Stay in front of him. Herald going to be used in the mid lane.
Oh.
To get off. Not a lot of twists this one. We'll see. They're cutting it down very quickly. How many times are we going to see a Herald not be able to charge here in this best of 5? Well played by BLG to deny that.
จริงๆทำเหี้ยอะไรเมื่อกี้
There's just not much of a response here from T1.
They're trying
any sort of angle they can get on the map. If you can get that vision turned down, yeah, sure, then you can get that vision that we were talking about. But BLG deny it well. Kindred coming across the last fight, and now they get the dragon. T1 going to put pressure onto the tier 2, but you can already see the resets coming through. They're not really going to get much damage onto this top tower.
Only thing BLG really want to fish out here is a nice, easy spawn on a Kindred mark. We're still sitting on 3 marks for Shun. Getting forth is that critical one for the extra range. Then their team fight just becomes so incredibly hard to deal with. T1, they're still hoping for that big fight where they can get Maokai ultimate plus Nautilus ultimate locking down Elk to open up the space for Zeus to get inside.
This does become harder though. That window of opportunity that we talked about where they burnt Elk's cleanse is no longer available. Elk's expect to get that up. Yagao just completed his Anya's hourglass as well, so he'll be relatively safe. And as soon as Bin comes into these fights and just stands in the front, it's like, well, owner, how are you supposed to get access to this back line? It's becoming a lot more difficult for T1 to operate, especially as soon as Elk completes this Infinity Edge.
Yeah, T1 have to be so careful right now. They just have to play off of saplings and Faker empowered Shock Blast for poke. If you're able to get enough saplings around these objectives, you have to play so trickly around your vision. Faker now, he just completed his Muramana. It is transformed, so they're hoping against hope that they can get some actual good poke down, but it's going to be hard to get around Bin.
And I think this is where we got to see the T1 Barons, right? I actually think it's your best bet is to try and start something at Baron, get a TP out of Yago, because Yago has been so consistently playing in these side lanes. And if you end up in that position where, okay, we can get a TP from BLG, well, then you have that opportunity to start playing the map. Maybe you can then have that numbers advantage that comes through in your favor, where you can start to push forward, start to always threaten that 4 versus 5, and BLG will force it back away. But it just seems so difficult at the moment with where BLG are positioned on the map.
Yeah, and with the items in inventory here, it is Infinity Edge completed now for Elk with that big gold advantage. So T1, till Guma can complete his, he's going back right now. They definitely don't want to mess with anything. And BLG, they're trying to take advantage of that window, get their vision completed around Baron.
Double 80 carries, I mean, the same play you talked about T1 making. BLG also have the option to make. They have a beacon frontliner, they can do a lot of damage. Still pretty early in the game, so a bit slower. And you can see that's the poke you highlighted on Forced to Recall here, maybe giving Carrier an avenue to contest at least some of this early vision. But getting later and later in the game, the stakes are getting higher around these fights. As the 1v1 on the bottom side, Yao stepping in. He does have the Zanyas, but trading Ult for Ult is a very good deal for BLG.
Yeah, it's so worth for Silas. See what they can do now. Kennen is going to have to go back, heal up, still has teleport, still has flash, but BLG again, sweeping through, clearing out that vision, clearing out those saplings.
But the thing is, you're starting to get shown, as you can see here. He's going to pick up another mark for himself. Not going to be up towards the 4. Is that his fortress?
Yep, that's 4, baby. Yeah. That's the one we wanted. Yeah. That was that luck coming in. Ooh.
And that's where it's going to now be a little bit more difficult for BLG, because Shun's in a good spot. Trying to contest the mid push isn't quite there. And yes, you do have Owner, who is tanky, has gone for the Randuin's Omen. And I think that will help out quite a bit. You don't really want to get the LDR just yet as Elk. You've oftentimes seen that push back to 4 items. But also the fact that you had to go Gale Force here doesn't mean you can substitute a lot of your damage with that true damage. The Gale Force is there for safety, trying to get in towards Alam's respite when needed. And it's a little bit of a window there for Team.
Oh, but this is Elk, baby. That Gale Force is there to be an orbital blast cannon, going in for kills.
He goes in. That's what he does. And we'll have to see if Elk can find another angle or if he gets over-aggressive here. Because right now, it does feel like BLG are pretty firmly in control of the map. T1 are responding, but the second that Yagao is able to take Zeus all the way, so much of the T1's angles of attack, their bangs are essentially just taken out of the equation.
And this is so much more patience than we usually see from BLG. They want to fight 9 times out of 10, and we're getting that like 1% where it doesn't really work out. They don't want to go for anything, and all they're trying to do is buy time for Elk. They know what side the bread is buttered, and as long as you can get Elk to rapid fire, you get that black lever, which is just being competed for Shun as well. Now you've actually got opportunities to help shred that front line, get into a good spot, and make sure you can play for these teammates.
The orbital blast cannon is online, fellas. And if he gets that first kill, then he's an orbital blast cannon on crack.
Okay. There it is. Kobe setting the stakes for the fight.
I would see so much Jinx take over MSI.
Once you get the lethal tempo stack, the extra range, it becomes very impossible for Aphelios alone to win one because you just get out maneuvered.
Just be glad Milio's not allowed in MSI. That range?
I'm happy every day. We don't have to see in there.
That is some range.
You don't even have to be in orbit at that stage. Cross map.
Cross galaxy.
Why even pick cards? You have rapid fire Jinx with Milio. No Milio this time around, Lulu still going to offer a lot of support for Elk in the fight to come. BLG on the cusp of Cloud Soul. T1 not as impactful as Ocean, but still can be hugely impactful. He could be ready to fight this one. Yagao on the flank. Has the ult up and available. Been an immovable object on the front line here.
This is Soul. BLG just have to kill the minion wave, and then they can. Well, I guess they still have to check about a T1 Baron. T1 are that team that will flip the Baron if you too heavily commit to the dragon, so they just send Shun.
Yeah, that's why Shun's going over, but Big's doing a really good job of mashing carry and forcing him to Hulk away, and every time they do, Elk steps up. Now BLG is going to play slow, make sure that they're not actually giving anything. T1 will start the Baron. Shun's a mile away.
This is a massive risk. Guma has terrible gun support fight. He has to burn through purple gun ammo as fast as humanly possible. Still a 45 carry on the flank, looking for the angle. Immediate disengage all coming out of the Maokai. Zeus looking for an angle into the backside. He's trying to burn through Elk, but Elk pre-flashing out to try to make it to safety onto the backside as well. The 80 carry still standing. Guma finally swapping guns, ready to keep the fight going, but T1 already routed. Shun coming up clutch. Resets coming in, and here is the orbital cannon bombarding onto the front and back line of T1 as they will pull out of the pit, able to take the war for themselves. It's a triple for Shun.
That's gonna be it. BLG wiped T1 off of the map. T1 knew they were backed into a corner here. They're facing Soul plus Baron spawn at the same time. Their only hope was to try and start it. And Yagao's not done.
และที่เหี้ยคือเมื่อกี้เฟย์ถือปืนในนี่อยู่ด้วยนะถือปืนม่วงอยู่ไฟร้านด้วย
Nobody expected to say this, but you gapped everybody. I mean, look, Two-Face is looking real clean today. The fact that he's coming in and getting these kills on Takuma, you get the Annie in game one that looks great. He has a 68% career win rate on the Silas, and you're seeing why. Steals the Maokai ult, manages to draw the space there for Elk. Ready it out. Elk with the fence, flashes away from Zeus, so he's able to stay alive, outpaced them, and now Shun in the picture.
T1, this is not your jungle anymore. Carry a cut down immediately. Still not going to come up in with the foe of the Black Code will be enough to take on safety. No, it will not. He's healing. He's getting everything he can with the mounting threat. For T1 just continues. They get worse and worse. Shun now pushing in, looking to take out Baker. Looking to go for the 1v1. The land's respite up and available. The pressure. BLG will not relent. BLG looking to break open the base in game 2.
BLG beat T1 in the first game with their style. They say we'll play the meta in game number 2. And Shun bringing out his pocket kindred to this tournament has looked fantastic. And T1 going down.
Just continuing to force under tower. He does not give a damn about cannon or anything on this stretch. He gets the win in his sights. BLG breaking down the first tower. Breaking down the second. It's Guma versus the world, but Guma will not be enough in game 2. You get on the backside, taking his time with Faker. They can just end the Lamb's respite. Buys Guma a brief moment to watch his own Nexus fall. It is BLG against all odds at match point.
What is happening in MSI? BLG are dismantling Korea. That is what's happening. They take down Genji, and they are in the process of taking down T1.
รอบชิงน่าจะแข่งพรุ่งนี้ไม่ก็วัน
Wow, indeed. Well along in the process.
อ่อนมองไปแต่ก็ตัวที่มันใช้เลยแล้วมันชนะมันไม่รู้ตัว
Over aggression on the top
ตัว
side.
โง่
BLG
เอ้ย
holds strong in that early game. They don't give up too much.
ออนก็ต้องออนก็ไม่ได้โง่ขนาดนั้น
Later in a relatively bloodless game, a single
พอ
fight
ไป
all
ก็
gives
ไป
them
อา
power. 4 kills for the vast majority.
ลอย
Completely different look for game 2.
Massive stuff here from BLG, even showing
Oh,
that
man,
they
you-
too can sacrifice top lane. They can play a Scion
ต้อ
level
งถาม
one
ว่า
that
ดีวัน
everyone's
พลาดจาก
playing.
อะไร
They can have
เหมือน
Bin go down tons of CS, and they still can
ไหว
rely
เปล่า
on Elvis and Shun.
อันนี้ใครซับ
Shun
ปะ
who had that Kindred band at one
น่า
stretch
จะ
was
ซับอะ
15 games in a row. Able to pull it off, 8 kills in the end. Legendary, fully stacked
Tốt rồi.
bounty on his head. And it's
แต่
incredible
ตา
to see
นี้
from
ซับก็เล่น
BLG
พลาด
as
เย
you
อะ
say,
นะ
like Bin didn't really play much
ไม่มี
outside
แบบ
up
ไม่
until
มี
he
ดึง
got
เลย
beat
สวย
by
เลย
369 in finals. Like, right, I
Not
need to
the
add this to my
look-
champion
oh,
role.
really
I need to make sure that I'm able to play this
Man-
front line. And the ability for him to
fake
sit
peak
at that
แค่
front stage,
หยิบนาที
forcing
รุ่นมาเขา
carry
ก็ต้อง
away,
เดาไงว่า
stopping
จะ
any
กลางห
sort
รื
of
อเปล่า
engage coming through, and just opening up in these fights for Elk. Like, it was so well orchestrated by BLG.
And as much as I'd love to continue talking about this matchup series, we'll get our chance in game 3 for now. Let's send it back over to the analyst desk to break down game 2.
I have a feeling you're gonna need your
Yeah.
energy going forward and
ไปต่างโลกกับ
hopefully
สมาร์
for
ท
a
โฟน
few more games. But I gotta say, in terms of momentum, in terms of that feeling that whatever you throw at BLG, they'll be able to counter it.
เขามี
For
ดวง
us,
สุด
it's
ยอด
really
เก่ง
fun
การ
to watch BLG get out of situations that they
อะไรวะ
shouldn't, play the game differently. I think even in this game,
Yeah,
they did
we
the last one, but
เหี้ย
Chronicler, the frustration must be at an all-time high for T1 in that regard.
It really is, and I think that as we were watching the game, me and Jet were sharing looks, and the T1 that you're seeing here is could not be more different, right, from what you're seeing domestically. And I want to give all the credit to BLG, but this T1, I think it was the third dragon. They got a couple of item spikes, right? They're in a position where they have an incredibly strong team fight with the cannon, with the Nautilus, and they're just not making it, right? You can just see kind of the BLG momentum overtaking them, and as a result, none of the team fights look good.
Yeah, that game felt a lot different than game 1. Game 1 was what we expected with BLG being over 1 combined kills per minute. This was like 4 kills to 4 as they were stacking up a soul. Like, this was very much, I think T1 didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
So and BLG knew that they'd have a win condition with Cloud Soul and a better scaling team comp. So they actually were able to play pretty calm, collected League of Legends. It doesn't make me very hopeful for more games.
Yeah, so the massive thing here was because they started with that silent swap, right? Which set Bin like super far behind. Yeah, in average, without including play-ins, he's been about 470 gold up on his lane opponents. Today he's down 1,152. But the big thing that you already pointed out is the Drake stacking, right? The ability for them to have such a large bot side control, funnel go into Elk, and stack Drake.
And what is really big here is that the teleport is already down here, right, for the science. So take that in mind as we see the outcome of the skirmish. Basically, even with Zeus not hitting everything, goes as favored as you could want to. Yagao doesn't have mana, and Bin flashes and tries to salvage it, doesn't get to go back. And I have seen T1 get smaller leads domestically, then take that lead and dive and dive and dive. Play on every single Drake, play on every single objective. And the fact that they have an early game like that, and then don't get to do anything with it is really worrying if you're a T1 fan.
Absolutely, because in this situation you have T1 with the cannon who's level 3 before Sion gets to lane. He's also 3 plates and 2 to 3,000 gold ahead. You have a Malachi who rushes the team fight item and Radiant Virtue, and then they're never able to fight. What I think has been common though between both games is a very early game strategy for BLG to get their bottom lane ahead. Because that means Carrier gets taken out of the game because he never has prio, he can never move, and Zeus, who is supposed to be able to either bail out bottom lane or carry himself, completely fell flat.
Oh,
right on his face.
Come on, him getting killed in the top. I mean, we were watching it. Really, is this really happening? Is Zeus really falling to this? That's crazy.
And it comes off of the back of him being one of the best players in the previous game on the Gragas, right? Didn't end up being enough, but he did such a good job there. And it is something that Zeus has been struggling with, right? When we get to these extremely high pressure situations, he's playing one of his comfort champions, gets an early lead, and then walks into a sign queue.
I'm also seeing a little bit of a trend that I might be like a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but yesterday we were watching the game and I remember you're like, oh, Gao's not having the best game yet on Ari, he's not getting those key charms, but then there was a follow-up which always killed Gen G. Here it was like, oh, oops, didn't work out for Sion. Oops, he's behind. Bin can't do anything, but it doesn't matter because they have the other plan. They have the Kindred. They have the Drake stacking, and they make it so that T1 cannot do anything with that first. With those first kills, rather.
Yeah. And they touched upon it on cast. I do want to shout out again Shun and his Kindred. They already talked about how it is a pocket pick for him. It is his 5th most played champion career-wide. He has about a 65% win rate on it. So he is incredibly comfortable on the champion. But the thing I saw from him, once again, that's already been brought up by both Chronicler and Jat, is he was ganking early. Like, he was in his lanes early. This is not necessarily what you would expect a Kindred to do. She wants to farm up. She wants to stack marks. You have her and Jinx in, like, a double 80 carry composition, essentially. But he was in his lanes, and most importantly, he was on the bot side of the map, making sure that Ult was getting gold.
Yes, and every second counts, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, Shun gets the Drake, runs to the team fight in time, and secures a triple kill. This was insane to watch in real time, Jat.
You could just kind of tell BLG was on the same page and T1 was not. Even with the way the fight played out in the 4v5, they're trying to peel, but the rest of the team can't make it through the Silas. Zaze can't even get on to the Jinx, who's able to just zoom away with his area, and this was the nail in the coffin.
It was. And I mean, I appreciate the way BLG set this up too, right? Because they had all that early Drake stacking. They recognized, like, this is Soul Point. We can leverage that against the Baron. And it is a much better setup than some of the not protecting our Barons and Drakes and owners coming in and stealing them. So they are also capable of protecting their objectives.
Okay, we showed this in Countdown. We're just gonna pull it up again, Maurice.
Yeah, I'm glad you're singling me out, Shocks. I'm having a great time. I appreciate it, and it is true, right? I think, as we saw at the top of the day, that there were already some doubts regarding T1 will be BLG easy, but then that game number 1, I think, gave us the idea that this would at the very least be a series that was back and forth.
Yep.
And then after the game 2, you're like, maybe they're just 3-0 again, just like yesterday.
It's crazy. So much going into that. And Jack, you started the day also by thinking of, okay, what is T1's perspective? Can they trick themselves into thinking that they are actually underdogs here?
Yeah.
Maybe it starts now, though, because now they certainly are.
I think they have an incredibly tall task ahead. And it's so crazy to think about. This T1 roster, these 5 players have been together a year and a half, never missed a final. They're one of this is going to sound silly, they're one of the greatest teams ever, yet they have 0 international finals, which I think becomes a superstition and makes them play worse in these moments. They need to do it now. They have to win 3 games in a row against BLG to not make that international goose egg a reality.
Yeah, the reverse sweep is necessary for T1 to kill those demons and to get a chance to kill those finals demons. And BLG on match point, they could go into the full LPL final tomorrow. Incredible. Let's see if they can close it
ภา
out
ษาฝ
after
รั่งเศ
this.
สไงร้องแม่วอมาเดียวมากช่องฟองตัวช่องปรียองงานอย่างไรปรียองช่องปรียองเขายิงช่องฟองตัวอันยังไงวะช่องโฟริออนช่องโฟริออนใช่ไหมช่องโฟริออนไม่ใช่ช่องปรียองช่องโฟริออนช่องโฟริออนยากช่องโฟริออนช่องโฟริออนไอ้ฟองตัวอ่านยังไงวะเป็นภาษาตัวอ่านไงวะก็ฟองตัว FARN ก็เป็นฟองแล้วฟองยังไงฟองC แล้วก็ตัวเป็นCเป็นตัวที่ไม่เหมือนทำไมเป็นตัวCOIS COIS ตัวช่องไอ้ช่องเป็นJEN ช่อง เหมือนชอนไงชอน
ชอน
ชอนเอ็นอะไรก็สี่ชอน
มาเนี่ย
New and existing customers can choose the phone they want, like the incredible iPhone 14 on us.
Not to brag, but I'm on Verizon now. And I got to choose the phone I wanted for free.
Not that you're bragging.
Choose the phone you want on us. Verizon.
Red Bull gives you wings.
ไอเดียคือด้วยความตัวเล็กอยากเดาว่าก็ต่อรู้แบบว่ายังว่าก็เลยนอกจากสามารถบอกนะว่าที่เรื่องทำให้เก่งเรื่องการลองเกมแต่นะที่ปีที่ดีสุดกลับแล้วดูหน้าก่อนก็สลักเรียวเรื่องห้ามเจ็ดที่ปาดเรื่องอะไรปาดตัวเนี้ยหยอกส่วนตัวนี้มันหยอกเดาว่าสักร้านเขาก็เลยคิดว่ารู้เราว่าซื้อที่ปาดคือในร้านจบเป็นที่ร้านเองเกลียวอ่อนต้องแกะเลือดแต่วันนี้ต่อหรือตามแปลกเอาแปลกได้ที่อยู่ทำได้ผมนั่นแหละหักยอมไม่กินเบื่อแล้วแต่เรียนบอกว่าคือตอนนั้นปราบคือมีโยเวทนะปวดก็เลยตั้งจบแล้วเอาล่ะนอกจากก็ยังด้วยพอติดต่อครับอันเนี้ยได้
Welcome back to MSI 2023. Ben calling his shots. So here we go. Guma responding in kind, the 3-2 confidence on the side of T1. Saw a sign earlier in the crowd that said T1 defy all odds. Well, this is the chance. This is as far down as you can go in this tournament.
Yeah, it has to be right now for T1. They've got to switch it up here, both in draft and in play. The top lane replay of Zeus, I'm still boggled at what went on there. Gotta turn brain on, let's go.
Yeah, but I'm curious as to see what we get as that adjustment in draft, right? Because it feels like when you look at T1, they're still getting a lot of what they wanted. We talked about like the Rakan and the Xayah in game number 1. This has been a huge one for Guma Yushin Carrier, but they couldn't quite get it across the line. Even then coming into this next game, they get their hands on the Maokai, which can be such a good setup, but they still don't see that one coming to fruition for them.
It was such a good Silas angle in answering that, you know, give up the Maokai because of a big powerful ultimate, being able to pull back the Silas. T1 aren't going to let it happen though.
T1 uninterested in high tier junglers making it through the draft. They'll triple ban that role. The Jinx going to get banned out here. BLG mixing it up. This is big for T1 because I think you can anticipate maybe trading here in the final game, but now you have to decide which of the remaining AD carries do you want to prioritize. But there's the Cassante. Slipped my mind, and there it is, finally slipping through the bans.
Instant lock here. Ben doesn't care. Slam that Gwen down. Ooh, love it. Carry on top side here for Bin again, and it can team fight.
And I love the Lulu pick as well, because you know that's either Xayah Rakan, Zeri, Lulu, at least from what we've traditionally seen here. So the fact you end up taking the Lulu means that you can't, you don't really want to take the Zeri away, so you're going to more than likely go back towards the Xayah Rakan.
Yeah, they're all smiles over there. Elka's like, yeah, last time I got to play Zeri with a Lulu pocket and 3 cleanses and Annie shields and Lulu shields all over the place. Still is probably going to be supportive mid laners, but the Annie, of course, is banned. Then he dropped down to like the Lasan.
ซาย่าราคา
No surprise to see if Zeri picked up. Cassante coming in very early in the draft, still a flex, see where it goes. Bin very confidently, kind of pseudo blinding the Gwen, comfortable in that match, comfortable with whatever else will come through, and we'll see now what they want to ban away, if it's top laners or if it's mid laners to set up a better matchup.
I think it might be junglers, because maybe not the case. Because I was going to say when you look at it, if you already have Vi, Wukong, and this Maokai banned away, you can probably take the Sejuani for Shun there, and then it's like, okay, well, what are you going to go to? What's kind of bottom of the barrel there that you want to try and pick up? Maybe Shun feels comfortable going back towards the Kindred, but you're definitely starting to crest into even things like the owner going back towards the Nocturne or Kha'Zix.
Yeah, I think you have to give so much respect to the Faker Cassante swap after that was by far his best game versus JDG. Looked so insane with that in mid lane. So they're going to cover their bases here, ban out the Talia.
Making sure that they do not have the extra tools to protect Elk on the backside. The Talia pick that has been a bit hit or miss, but Yagao, the one really prioritizing in these drafts, is an extra form of protection for Elk, so as well as a roaming tool.
ยังไม่ได้
And I think the bench where another top laner will be picked up as
มาดูดับ
well.
ก่อนเดี๋ยวไปอาบน้ำเมื่อกี้ไปล้างจาน
Ragus, okay, so
So do they want to ban the Nautilus or the R?
ดูดับเกมก็ไม่เปลี่ยนหรอ
Still looking at mid lane, because the setup power with that Nautilus
ดูดับไปสุดท้ายก็มาดูในเกมก็ไม่รู้อะไรวะ
I mean, it's kind of tricky, right? Because ultimately, if you go for the Ahri here, it's so easy to immediately swap that Cassandra.
ปกติผู้หญิงเขาดูการ์ตูน
And I think that's the big problem is that what you've seen because I think we didn't answer the Nautilus so well, where you're able to match a lot of push, you just end up as a beat here to the front line, and then the value that you get for this Nautilus off the mid lane starts to disappear. So I like the call from T1 saying, hey look, you just take it, Santi goes mid, but maybe they don't really care. You can see he was over first. But in second there, it looks like they're going to take that jungler for Shun instead.
Holding my breath here.
ผู้หญิงที่แบบติดการ์ตูนจริงๆ
We are entirely low on CC on the side of BLG. So many great
ที่มึงรู้จักอ่ะ
ไอ้รู้จักอะเคยรู้จัก
lacking really any hard CC or setup.
And it does mean that you're probably going to see Yaga go towards something like Lysandra or something along those lines to try and provide that setup. Nautilus could also work in that situation, right, to try and be that front line. But I'd say for BLG, bit of an unusual one. I'm not the biggest fan of what they decided to go for here, especially as the Kha'Zix now comes out as well. You do a phenomenal setup for this Kha'Zix to try and get into the face of the Kindred and assassinate her in the jungle.
คลาสสิก
The Ahri is still on the table, and a lot of the conventional answers into it have been taken away.
รู้จักคนหนึ่ง
Jax, Camille, first to call out. Zaves feeling confident in the 1v1. He was pretty consistent going ahead early on, and there's the Jax against the Jax master himself. But the Galio,
คลาสสิกโดนแดกแน่
excellent synergy from Kindred. A lot of tools to stop
ยังไม่เลือก
you.
นี่
Your
หว่า
backline taunt is such an oppressive ability against so many
กาดิโอ
divers.
กลาง
This was
มันจะแพ้คาซันเต้เอาหน้า
across their regular split. 80% win rate in the regular split. We even got to see a little bit of playoffs. Like both the Faker and Galio was two standout picks in his pool, and we are going to get to see it. So BLG going back towards the style was very comfortable for them domestically.
Oh, and I always love to see Galio plus Kindred combinations here. Yeah, Galio has been so good in this setup that everyone underestimated him as a mid laner.
บัว
See what he can perform early on.
มันไม่ใช่ดอกบัวด้วยแบบบัวที่มันเคยกินไหม
ไม่เคย
เคยกินตอนเด็กๆแต่ว่าไม่ได้กิน
ไหลบัว
ไม่ใช่ไหลบัวบัวที่มัน
เป็นเม็ดอะเป็นเม็ดข้างในเป็นเม็ด
I think T1 definitely want to try and jump in on top of him, right? A very short range competition, but the thing is, a lot of us, when you look at the setup here for BLGs, you don't really have the range to take full advantage of it. Yes, you got the double AD carry, but it still feels like a huge amount. This is going to be a case of can we spread out these fights? Can we buy space for the double AD carry in the back line? And if you actually find T1 out of position, trying to jump on them is going to be so difficult to do.
A lot of counter engage there for BLG. Kindred ultimate, Galio ultimate, peeling back with Lulu. T1 has to be very, very particular with their engages, and especially Carrier. A lot riding on Carrier's shoulders here with the Rakan. Oftentimes it's going to be super hard to play as a champion in a team that has so much counter engage. Being switched, the possibility of those counter kills.
To all the T1 fans watching this, if you believe in them, they need to hear you now. Their backs are against the wall. It is do or die.
When I think of T1 though, and when I think of Cassante for Faker, this has been when they've had their standout moments. This has been where Faker has been able to pop off, step forward, and be that veteran on this T1 roster. Make sure that he is driving T1 forward. And here against BLG once more, it feels like it's going to be resting his shoulders. See if he can get control with this top side. Very scrappy, very heavy skirmish top side. And I expect to see a lot of that coming where T1 trying to look for these invades, see if they can get on towards Shun and support Owner in his endeavor to shut down this Kindred.
And the odds just continue to stack against them. Been 12-1 on this win on the international stage. 3 of those wins were versus T1 at MSI finals last year. Whatever happens in the lane, they have to take Bin out of the equation. They have to shut BLG down.
Top lane carry matchups here. Zaves versus Bin. This is what a lot of people love to see. Can Zaves bounce back after his mishap in the previous game? Raptor start for Shun on the Kindred. Will be able to get his red buff very early on. Yep, Yagao goes top. They want this Gwen into Cassante. They want the Gwen into Cassante so much more.
It doesn't mean that you don't get full value from Yagao's ultimate though when he does hit 6, so I'm curious to see if they do end up swapping back a little bit to make sure that they're going to be safe, but in general, Galio should be relatively safe up in this top side and going to be able to get away from some of this. But
Already action on the bottom side. Knight coming out early from Carry, trying to get a bit of extra advantage. Goes down being popped by Elka, trying to poke back, hoping to get at least a summoner back for Guma, but Guma standing strong.
Nice little zigzag there. Pops the ghost for the move speed for the juice.
BLG do end up winning out though. Both summoner spells burned on support and AD carry, and you can also see just the health trade as well. So BLG still managing to get decent push and not a huge amount wasted as Yagao. There you go, gets the knock up, and this is what they're going to say. A lot of it is going to be a case of you being able to dismantle a lot of Zayas trying to go in, as you can try and walk away. Even just stuff like if you're looking at a dive, being able to tank so much of that with that W. And Bane at the moment getting a hell of a good time against this Cassante.
They're spotted out now by Shun. They're both on both sides, going to pop in. Leap over the wall to take Owner out to safety. Shun, does he want to keep this one going? Has the reset. He's just going to contest here on the bottom side. Potentially setting up for a bot lane dive. They've already got the Ignite and the Ghost out of Guma. Still both flashes up and available, however. And Shun just on the hunt here. Owner not going to spot him out there.
I like the pressure here, forcing Owner to come shadow.
Shun over the wall, just laying down a bit of damage, making sure the jungler cannot help.
So good. Shun playing off his bottom side, pressuring under tower, forces jungler.
Taking the time, Quick Lane's going to hit 2. Trying to isolate and shut down the T1 bottom lane. 3 minutes into the game. High stakes potential dive situation here. T1 desperately trying to clear the wave. Kha'Zix on the backside, ready to mark them. Snare already coming through. Guma won't have that cooldown for the next few seconds. But they cleared enough of the wave that BLG do not pull the trigger on the dive.
And this pressure is so good for BLG, just mirroring jungles and waiting for Scuttle Crab spawns. It's a bottom side Scuttle Crab with the mark as well for Shun.
Mid lane.
In addition to denying those minions on bottom side, look at the Xayah already, again, falling behind in minions.
Owner's reset though, and Shun knows it. He's moving back down. Bing onto Faker in the mid. Bot lane, the repeat dive is around.
Continue to out-trade in the mid lane. Guma now going to be in trouble. Carry has to do everything he can to protect his AD carry, but it might not be enough. Guma taking out the dive clean this time. They won't fumble it again. Elk going to walk away, blinking but still standing.
Really good stuff there by On Lulu. Hits him with the polymorph, tanks tower, flashes out, secures the kill for the team, gives it to the Kindred. I honestly even like that more than giving it.
Waiting to see if Bin wants to go for it. 4 stacks of the Sniff. Owner now coming in. Maybe can punish Bin for playing so aggressively in the mid lane.
Bin's got flash too.
Bin just a quick dash out to safety. We were poked to even up the lane matchup, but right now everything going in the favor of BLG. 800 gold in their favor at this stage of the game already.
But the thing is, Owner hasn't got to clear his top side at all this entire game. Same when you kind of look across at Shun, so much of that focus has been on that bottom side of the map that we're not seeing a huge amount of CS picked up, and for Owner, that's going to end up setting him behind because he needs to be in a position where he's in the lead. Look, Kindred is the same. You want this AD carry to be pumping out damage, but at least you get value from that Lamb's Respite. You get value from the kill he's managed to pick up, but Owner's been trying to just keep T1 in check, and as a result is starting to fall behind the rest of the game.
Yeah, and that's why I really like the Kindred actually getting that kill there. Pickaxe right back out onto the map. He gets to move that advantage around.
Knock up there though, clean immediate fall up the snare, now going to come back. Guma and Carry fighting back, finding a kill on the bottom side, a clean pickoff.
That is much needed for T1. Big stuff there. Gold going into Guma Yushi, helping him catch right back up.
Crucial that they're able to find those avenues, especially with how difficult mid lane was going early on in the game. Faker now feeling a bit more comfortable. Wandering out of lane as he has a brief moment where the wave is pushed in, can clear out some of this vision, take a bit more control on the top side. We check in, of course, the Galio. Can try to trade against the Jax, but will not have an all-in threat here. It's just set up there to survive, see when they can actually enable Yagao to free up on the map, as you mentioned earlier, Dagda. Now Shun uncontested as he starts the Infernal Drake.
Yep. They should be able to pick up this objective. We do have the support recalls, though, so Carry is back out on the map, going to come over, pop the Scryer's Bloom. Nice little window, though, of course, T1. Nice punishment on. They know he didn't have flash. Owner positioning for another steal. Blast going in, jump out.
Takes one away. He gets it! Every time!
Damn, that feels so good as a jungler. He's in his head. You are mine. Another smite steal for Owner.
I mean, at what point do we take the title away from Dandy? Win as Owner, the new Prince of Thieves, as he finds yet another objective steal in this game. Faker now moving up to the top lane. Ulti available as well. Yagao has to be careful to survive here. Trying to clear the wave, trying to delete it as quickly as he can.
Just Galio things.
Yeah. Walk up, big AoE auto, clears it out.
Yeah, as you said, he went after shock bro plating. Yagao's just looking to hold up there, but bottom side
on Cloud again. Elk not able to do anything here on the bottom side. Guma finding another kill.
This is huge for T1. Guma and Carry are clawing their way back into this bottom side now with 2 kills on towards the Xayah. It's absolutely massive, but so much of that stemming from the fact they didn't have to invest time into taking the dragon. They steal it away, and then they get pressure top, they get pressure on bot, and T1 are fighting back.
They're so good at identifying the only opening on the map for them. There it is, in 613, right as that tick of damage, able to get it, but they're so good at identifying the only opening there. He just pulled off a tower dive on us and he flashed out. Okay, we're gonna punish him for it, over and over. Carry a lockup, blade caller from Guma, Owner even goes down there, and that's back-to-back plays to punish that offensively blown flash.
It's also the fact that Carry is coming completely out of vision every time he's going on. You can't get polymorph just coming through because he's just moving too quickly, so On isn't getting that opportunity to try and disengage. Some really good stuff from T1's bottom lane and just setting themselves up now for the first time really having, well, say the kill advantage. Still a good bit of that CS lead is going across towards Elk at the moment though.
Certainly is. Something to track as we get later in the game, these first item spikes especially. Herald now spawned and available, see which side wants to force for it. You see pings coming down on it from Shun. T1 and the Xayah Rakan, we were promised that this is a duo that you cannot give them. BLG managed to beat it in game 1, but game 2 off to an incredibly good start for the T1 bottom lane.
Now I want to see if BLG can try and use this for the Rift Tower. A lot of their combo relying on the fact that Yago is now hit level 6, Bin has control over that mid lane as well, and even El Kanon, you can see starting to get pushed in the spot side, will actually spot out Keria. Faker isn't in a position to really follow up here.
Flashed out immediately.
I like this fight because as long as BLG keep the bottom lanes from roaming, there is an advantage for them on the top side. Yagao trying to push out.
On gonna land. Bin, is he ready to go back? Ancho now trying to make it out over the wall, trying to get in and grab the Eye of the Herald. Now immediately going to throw down the Lamb's Respite. The Galio coming in. Zeus has a brief moment to try to make it out of this one. The stun coming in from Zeus. It's massive. They find 3. Faker isolates Bin to the follow. Faker going all out on the top side. He will look to take down Bin. Bin flat, but he's pulled back. And from over the wall, Faker finds the kill. But here is Elk. Elk looking to reset. Elk looking to find the fight, but there is no fight left for BLG. Elk though, continuing to defy expectations, leaping out over the wall. Carrier ready to follow. Carrier ready to respond. The red buff, will it be enough? Belk finally taken down as Carrier takes the kill.
And in game 3, T1 are coming alive. They find the fight in the pit. They managed to get the kills on BLG, and BLG left scrambling in this one. They see the engage on the Faker, but Shun under so much pressure from Zeus, they all try to fall back. And but the problem is, they invest everything while this man's respite is still up. Zeus doesn't go down. Incredible flash forward there to stun all 3 members and set up for T1 on that top side. Elk does manage to come in and get himself a double kill as they manage to rotate faster, but as T1's bot lane matches, that's where it's fall apart for BLG.
Yeah, you can see the split second in the shot calling change on the side of BLG. Carrier here does get a little bit of chunk damage onto Shun.
Now coming in, Shun needs to make his way out as quickly as he can. Q over the wall, on waiting over the wall. They will not opt to follow up, but a lot of damage down onto that Kindred. The gold neck and neck, 300 advantage to T1 with the Herald to the side of BLG.
But we saw that moment when the shot calling changed. Shun was like, you know what? Herald, boom, I got it. I'm going to leave now, not stick around for that eyeball. But then they made the call. Our bottom lane is leading on the rotation up. Delay, delay. We can actually fight this slowly. And it's the tenacious chase from T1 that collects the extra kills. And as you said, the overlap there of the Galio on the Kindred ult, while Zeus was still protected.
The problem is it's fixed a lot of the problems for T1 on the top side though. You can see there, T1 trying to leverage the fact that they have push in the spot side to now constantly invade onto Shun. Make sure that he's very hopeful and it's opened up Owner to finally play this 1v1 matchup a little bit more aggressive. Shun will just be spotted in mid lane a little bit, but I am curious to see how he decides to use this Herald, because with the presence that T1 now have on this bottom side as well, it becomes very difficult for him if he ever runs into one.
Tricky game now, T1. So many tools to start the fights off. We've seen Carrier so consistent on these Rakan engages. They may try to make a play on the bottom side. Double control works, protecting BLG, protecting Elk, make sure the dive can't come through. But a second Dragon over to T1. So early in the game, they are set up to stack very cleanly to a soul.
Herald dropped mid in the response as well. Faker's there. They should be able to usher it up to a charge at least, though, and at least get the expected value here. It's aggroed on minions currently.
Okay. Trying to get in, hit the eye. Owner now coming in, charge will connect. Crucial for BLG, would have been devastating to not have that extra influx of gold.
You can see the even brought Yago down. They really wanted to make sure that they were able to get that play happen. Yago will be able to move back up towards the top side though, make sure he's okay. Is Elk pushing into the spot side again. Just BLG trying to see if they can scramble for anything they can pick up on the map.
Elk trying to leverage the value of the Vampiric Scepter there in the trade. Team being aggressive, willing to tank the tower overall. But on the top side of the map, Galio's life is about to get a lot more miserable. Zeus finally completing the Divine Sunder. It's going to be pretty impossible to push the Jax out of lane now.
And Elk is nursing that small lead in the bottom side on this area again. BLG going to try and leverage as much possible juice into him as possible for a repeat of that one.
I think a huge amount of that is going to rely on people like Yago and Shun and how they utilize these Lamb's Respite. The first combo didn't work out so hot for them in the Rift Tower pit, so I want to see kind of a slower approach to it where you are on the same page. If you can get it done, it does make it very hard for people like Owner or Zeus to get value, but if Faker is able to drag you out of these ultimates, make sure that you're in a much better spot, that's where T1 can really thrive. Even the fact that you should play so far forward with this Featherstorm as well, you have to be so careful as BLG about how you approach these fights.
Yeah, the timing they're going for is difficult. To get Galio ult to come down just after the Kindred ult explodes so that you can make use of the knockup and actually get DPS down there instead of being nullified by your own Invulnerability ultimate is a hard timing to hit, but they gotta work on that.
Yep. Adapting the execution on the fly is going to be big for BLG. Again, they have the luxury of a 2-0 lead. They can afford to lose a game, but would love to close it out cleanly here. A very aggressive draft. A lot about the counterpunch. This, you got straight back on the top side. Casual 100 healing coming in for the Divine Thunder. That feels pretty great.
I think that's where you're going to have to see this matchup probably change in the top side. I know it's not great for the Gwen either, you know, like a lot of situations, especially with the Divine Thunder already completed versus just being not having that Rift major completed. But you need to get access to Yagos towards multiple side lanes, also back again. I mean, Zay's just free farming up here this whole time.
Faker fishing, trying to find an angle, pulling it back into the waiting arms of Owner. Owner trying to finish the job in, trying to heal up a bit, will get taken down. Owner finding the kill in the mid lane.
Big stuff for T1 to get some more money on him. He's got that lethality spike. The Chief Umbral Glaive plus serrated Dirk here. And that damage is enough. Elf's gonna cruise on in to say hello to Faker and pick up the minion wave as they exit.
More resources in the back pocket of Elk, certainly, but good that they're able to slow down Finn, who was dominating at least in the 1v1 trades. Take him a little bit more slow, weaken him overall. We've seen once you get a death cap, once you get 2 or 3 items on this Gwen, she can be a team fight terror, so slowing that down is big. And across the map, you can see here, gold differences only in the bot lane and a tiny one in the jungle for the side of BLG.
Yeah, and the big leverage there for Zeus, when he was able to slingshot ahead, was that Rift Herald fight, where T1 smacked down those kills. Now we get the rotation, put him inside lane, Divine Thunder Jax, keep on bottom side, rotate AD carries mid to push out the waves. And again, second Rift Herald is up and available, so rotating your vision over here.
There's not really much here that BLG can really respond with though. As you say, like T1 have just so much control over the map. You're waiting for that Mountain Dragon that's in a minute and a half, and when you're able to have Zeus continuously push against Yago, he's going to have amazing control, should be able to get a good amount of control over the river as well. And even when you look at Gumayushi as well, the wave clear that he has, you're just constantly getting mid and bot prio to move into river, and it makes it so hard for BLG to do anything, which is why we see Shun trying to move down towards his bot side, trying to make a play as the Rift Herald is being taken.
Yeah, they know, so they're trying to trade away, cross-map play here, but scouted out by the ward. Means it might be a little bit of extra resources here. Keria comes down to Shadow, so that there's not too much extra pressure on Zeus at that tower. Mirroring the support roam here from On, setting up that vision preemptively for the arrival of our Mountain Drake.
Good that Keria is there to cover to stop any potential dives here. BLG trading a guaranteed Herald for a potential play on the bottom side as they were a bit behind on the take, and now if you want to have to see where they want to leverage that pressure point, if they can start to break open mid, the game gets a lot easier.
Good little mark pull here for Shun, is at 2 now, as we get our resets for the Dragon. Trying to retake now for Owner, or for T1, is so difficult. They know their red quadrant of the jungle has to be littered with wards because they just saw the big power move from BLG setting up for this Dragon. And so now they're cautiously retaking this area to give them some sort of footing with which to start up this contest.
Again though, I think you're relatively okay to do this as T1. BLG don't have the best go buttons. It's like an Everfrost or an Aqua from Yago. As you can see, I mean, Keria in the midst of everyone on BLG is just able to dash away. So this is where BLG need to be the ones that control the space, and already they move in to take it.
And they're doing just that. They're going to sacrifice their mid wave, and T1's going to pop the Herald to make them really pay for this.
Now just burn taunt, a brief window.
Owner.
Zeus on the backside as well. Owner ready to steal yet another objective. Well, Q ball W, bit of poke coming through as BLG just tried to chase Zeus out of the pit. 5K getting lower. Now they're focusing it down. Are they just going to 50-50 at BLG? It's so difficult for them to force any kind of meaningful fight here. Keria just walking away, Guma walking away. They don't have the CC to lock down a priority target. BLG being shepherded around and now just getting knocked out of the pit immediately. T1 are going to look to blow it down, but BLG need to force the fight. Faker in the backline is doing so much work. The pullback coming through. Faker makes it out. Galio going into the pit. The Dragon to the side of T1. T1 coming alive in game 3. Zeus finding a kill. Owner untouched for now, but Elk still stands. He's trying to burn through those health bars. He's still standing. He's still alive. The heal coming in. Owner finally going to finish the job. It's a massive fight for T1.
They stand tall. They get the Dragon and they get the kills afterwards. Yagao goes into the pit. Faker running full circle around this fight with Kasante's mobility. We've seen it so many times. It's not. well, it's frustrating.
What do you mean? Zeri and Kazante, it all works out well, but brilliant stuff from T1. And I think this is where you really exemplify the problems with BLG's composition, where T1 are able to hop in, hop out, shake it all about, and there's nothing that BLG are able to do in the end, because as soon as they try to go on to anyone, T1 just have that mobility and kick it away.
I want to see a Faker skin with the Macarena now. Absolutely.
Pokey, pokey.
Close enough! Here he goes in. Faker, it looks like he's so deep, right? But he gets all four. He even gets Shun's flash as he flashes out. And then here was that re-engage. The Galio ult was already channeling, so then Yagao goes in. But guess what? His teammate's already gone. The Dragon's already gone. And so it's an overextension, another mistiming on another Galio ult, and T1 are feasting.
It's also just such a spread out fight. Like, you don't actually get BLG in a position where they're really getting, Gago at the front line, trying to provide that tank, trying to buy space, because he's looking for the flank in that position. And T1 jump a pin's dead!
It's dead! T1 finding a pick on the side lane. Carry looks like setting that up. Hard to say without the context. Had to watch Lulu die a bit horrifically there. And BLG, for the first time, not on even footing, not at a slight deficit, at a massive deficit. 3 dragons stacked against them. T1 backs against the wall, the most pressure that could possibly be on them, but they are showing up here in game 3.
And it feels like such a weird time for BLG to change the game plan, right? When you look towards, hey, look, this Kazante ban has worked out absolutely fantastic for us. Faker has been insane on this pick, and you're starting to see it again in this game. When you have 2 games in your advantage, to suddenly start to swap it up and change it to what has been such a difficult game plan to operate. You can see BLG now struggling, and T1 happy to just find those moments. Zeus hopping forward on towards the ward, Kerry in a great position to follow up, and the side lane control is going to T1.
And this is that other side of Bin that people are used to seeing throughout the long extended series. They finally get a pick on him in the side lane. It's not the Giga Bin, it's T1. Now with full control, 3 dragons, Dragon Soul coming imminently, Baron already arrived at the pit. And they're trying to really take control of the vision here with that Umbral Glaive, clearing everything out. They've got the Recon, they've got the turn ability, and Faker, last time around, he went straight for Shun.
Makes a lot of sense, limiting the Kindred, taking her out of the equation, denying the potential for a 50-50. T1 so many tools to guarantee a secure on this Baron. BLG fishing. Not going to be used though, and again, this is what we've highlighted, Egg, this is what you've highlighted. They can just walk away, and BLG have no way to stop them from doing it.
Yeah, BLG are trying their best, but as long as T1 are the one that are dictating the pace of these fights, it's so difficult for BLG to really do anything. Kerry now is T stepping up, he knows there's not a huge amount to do, he's got the safety of Yushi behind him. So the team fights going the way of T1, side lane going the way of T1, vision control the way of T1. I do not see a way that BLG actually managed to come back from this. T1 have such a stranglehold on this game.
Absolutely. Here we go. Ready to pick things off. The taunt coming in to stop any potential follow-up. Shun now ignited. Zeus ready to go over the wall. Yagao getting chunked away. And there's Zeus with the denial coming in for Yagao. Able to find the Lamb's Respite on the backside. Faker now ready to move right in. He can tear them out of that Lamb's Respite in an instant. Elk trying to get out, but he goes back into the waiting arms of his team. Faker may have overstayed, may have overstepped his welcome. And again, BLG finds an avenue in the fight. For now, it is 1-for-1. Mid laners traded.
BLG actually stalling and delaying getting the 1-for-1 on Faker this time. He can't get out alive. Yagao goes down, Faker goes down. Mid laner's off the board, but T1 still get vision control.
And they still get to move into this top side where Zeus can start to put pressure onto the tier 2. And this is where, again, BLG, they're trying so desperately to get this combo between the Kindred and the Galio to work, but T1 are playing these fights so slowly. They're never overcommitting, they're just throwing in 1 or 2 members at a time and getting the Galio low, getting Shun low, so they panic, have to blow this combo early, and it just doesn't quite work out.
And Yagao gets the Justice Punch in the air on Zeus, and then trying to defend on Kindred ult. They get the heal. Faker jumps in. He ults while Yagao creates this big zone, this big space for BLG. And then they sacrifice 1-for-1. Nobody can cross the Galio ult. They take the Galio in exchange.
And ultimately 1-for-1, but again, T1 remain in strong control of this. Mountain Drake spawning out. This is the soul. And BLG are just going to concede it. They don't have the tempo, they don't have the vision. They've got no tools left in the box to contest this one, so it'll just be a free soul. 22 minutes in. Mountain Soul for T1, they can just immediately turn to the Baron.
Yeah, BLG have a very tall task trying to delay this game. They need to delay for a long period to be able to catch back up. But T1 are so good at pushing tempo, they're going to rotate right over to Baron. They've got the Umbral Glaive, they clear out the vision, they keep looking for picks. Carrier ultimate is available. Carrier flash is available. So if they just starve you of vision, they start the Baron, they look for the turns.
Eyes on the prize for T1. Don't need to risk anything, don't need to overforce here. Again, the disengage is really the only big threat that BLG have if T1 overcommit, so taking it slow, playing it controlled, starting this objective up. Guma and Faker looking to take this one down slowly but surely. Owner ready to come over the wall with the smite to secure. Zeus hovering, not quite in fog of war, as the vision is there for BLG to see exactly what he's up to. Kindred can throw down the Lamb's Respite to slow this one. Owner going over the wall, now the fight kicking off, but Carry already ready to engage on, getting lower and lower. Lamb's Respite again, getting a moment. Elk over the wall, but he's not really able to hit any priority target. Guma setting up the feathers in the choke. There's no angle here for BLG to fight. Forced away, blinking health bars. It's the Baron for T1.
No ultimate on Yagao. It only just come off cooldown, so T1 find that window of opportunity, jump onto BLG, and now the Baron is theirs. BLG trying to see if they can remount an offense though.
Baker can just ult Shun out of the pick and deny him access, but Bin waiting over the wall as well. BLG now it's all or nothing. It is now or never, but the Jungler taken out of the equation. Shun barely able to escape, but Baker secures the Baron for his team. Bin now moving in, taking out Faker, but BLG, there is no fight left. As the Baron is the soul for the side of T1, only at the cost of Faker's life.
Noble sacrifice there from the T1 mid laner. Baker keeps the smite steal away, even though Owner has been so good, they don't risk it. They teleport back in aggressively.
Back on the top side. Zeus polymorph, he can't leap in. Aggressive, but Owner's here as well. Kuma behind them. They're trying to shepherd BLG in, but they have to be careful. Yagao, Gwen now immune, feathers now flying. Shun looking to follow up. Guishi can just pull him back. He's got so much zone control, but it's an aggressive TP. They do not want to give BLG the chance to back and reset. He may be a bit too aggressive, but it doesn't cost T1 much of anything.
They still manage to step away. BLG will do the same. Now T1 can actually start to get a lot of offensive plays down those. Zeus has still control of the side lane, but watch here. Look at the cooldown that's on the, well, we're not going to see it, there's just barely a cooldown on the Galio ult, so Should not really in a position off this fight to go for it. Actually, this is the re-engage here. But you get Kazante going immediately on Shun, prevents him coming over the wall, and then this is where Yago does manage to just barely miss out, and T1 are able to run away.
I mean, ever since I've gotten control in this game, they have not been giving a single inch to BLG, and yes, part of that is BLG have a limited composition in terms of what it can do, but this is the version of T1 that fans wanted to see, the one that will choke you out, that will take over in the early game and keep that ball rolling.
Yeah, honestly, the Kindred ult now is only like delaying the fight of T1. They're still able to run BLG off of their own defensive cooldowns here, even at tower. Aggressive positioning.
Guma Gale Force, stopwatch now coming out. BLG just pushing back in, using so many resources to deny the wave. They do get the Gale Force from Guma, but not a lot else.
And Owner's going to be able to 1-4 here. The jungler, Kha'Zix, with the Baron buff, easily gets secondary tower. The rest of the team forcing BLG back. Baron empowered cannon minions slowly chunking away.
Oh, continuing to step forward here, but has to be careful. A single misstep could cost him his life in the game for BLG. 2 minutes and 30 seconds till Elder is on the table. I don't think T1 have any real reason to flip it for that objective. Can just continue to press in with this Baron. 42 seconds left.
I think that Elder is kind of the last remaining opportunity for BLG. Bin launches himself into the pit. Yaga follows up, mainly buys some space. T1 may not give him that opportunity. He says, looking for the flank, trying to see if he can get in. Owner onto Bin in the mid lane.
Just getting chunked out in the mid lane, firing back. The snip. Here comes Elk as well. Owner's just going to leap out to safety and walk away. And again, BLG, even if they find an avenue of attack, every single cooldown on T1 needs to be down to find a single pin for kill.
Yeah, BLG are looking at 10, 15, even 20 minutes into the future here. Just trying to hold, trying to farm. T1 want to put as much pressure on them as possible. Getting these secondary towers down, increasing that gold lead, really starts to play around.
You have to get creative here as BLG. If you just go into a straight up 5v5, T1 are going to take it. And the opportunity here for T1, look, the Baron buff is gone, but they're still going to put pressure on the top side, try and take that last outer structure. Has been what it cost.
Dash out to safety, able to get away from the charm as well as the knockup. They're going to cost him his ultimate, which will matter in fights to come, but I think for now he's going to try to clear the wave.
Alright, Rakan ultimate for Gwen ultimate here. And T1 re-establishing same game plan. Take away all vision through jungle. Keep BLG pinned inside their own territory.
So easy now, a minute left until the Elder. Most of the waves pushing. T1 laying down this deep vision is going to make it so hard for BLG to retake. It feels all but certain